Continues for the Cincinnati Reds, who continue their chase of the top spot in the National League Central. The Reds host the Florida Marlins. Thanks for joining us. Paul Keels and the Cowboy, Jeff Bradley. How you doing, partner?
I'm doing good, buddy.
Well, we saw the Reds the last 3 days that they played run into some outstanding pitching. Well, this guy they're seeing tonight, he's no walk in the park either, Josh Johnson.
No, it's not, Paul. And this is a tough situation for the Reds. They're running into 3, 4, now 4 aces. It's a tough situation for the Reds. They've got to bring the bats, and this is the one test of the middle of the season where the Reds in the top of the National League really have to bring out the bats after this situation with the Cardinals. Josh Johnson, 10 strikeouts in his first appearance against the Reds down in Florida. This will be his first start here at Great American Ballpark. Hopefully, with some new changes for Dusty Baker's lineup, some lefties against this right-hander, they can put some runs on the board and do it early.
And this is an offense that really needs to get going after what they've run into the last 3 games, but won't be easy against this guy.
No, it's not going to be easy, and you can see the numbers on Johnson. When you lead the major leagues in ERA at 1.97, that does about all the talking you need to do right there.
Yes, it does. Well, that's the lowdown on the starter for the Marlins. We'll tell you about the Red starter, Volquez, when we continue. I always presented in beautiful high definition, courtesy of H.H. Gregg. It's game 1 of the 3-game weekend series. The Reds and the Florida Marlins meeting tonight here at Great American Ballpark, and the sauna continues around the Queen City. With an update on the weather for this evening, here's Tim Hedrick.
It will feel a little bit like South Florida tonight. That temperature at game time right around the 90-degree mark. By 9 o'clock, we're talking 86. down to 82 by the time you go home tonight. That's still warm for that time of night. Any thunderstorm activity will be isolated, and I think it remains away from the ballpark. Enjoy the game, everybody. Whoa! Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tim. Here's a look at Edinson Volquez, Jeff, and what he's done as of late.
First start, after the first inning, he threw the ball awfully good. But after that first start, it was almost as though he tried to do too much and trying to throw too hard, strike out too many batters, and he really got away from his release point. He couldn't get the ball down in the strike zone. He couldn't get ahead of hitters. And you see what happens when you don't get ahead of hitters. You got to come with a fastball in the heart of the plate, and they were hitting the ball all over the place. Now, his last two starts, I tell you what, he is really starting to make some adjustments, and you have to do that when you come back from Tommy John surgery, starting to get on top of the ball more. He's starting to slow himself down more in his first part of his windup, and that's allowing him to get on top of the baseball, drive it down into the strike zone, and now he's using all three pitches, and they've been awfully good here lately.
There are the numbers for Edinson Volquez in his brief time logged in 2010. Volquez and the Reds trying for a fish fry here at Great American. "33 straight years." By Just for Men, for mustache and beard, keep your edge. And by Skyline Chili, whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. That looks like a cool spot to be. Reds and Marlins here at Great American inside the walls of the ball yard. The first of a three-game weekend series. Time now to take a look at the starting lineup for the Florida Marlins, thanks to our friends from Cincinnati Bell. How about that guy right off the get-go there, Cowboy?
You look at Hanley Ramirez, he's one of those guys very similar to Brandon Phillips in our lineup. You can put him anywhere in the lineup. You can lead him off, you can bat him fourth. He's going to help you in any way possible.
As of late, Mike Stanton has been on a tear. Just their most recent completed series, a 5-hit game in Washington. And you saw the numbers for Wes Helms against the Reds. And they will deal with Cincinnati right-hander Johnny Cueto, or Edinson Volquez.
Well, Volquez says that he has gotten everything back under control, and it's going to be a big gut check for him and the Reds tonight facing Josh Johnson. It is going to be one of those things where pitching is going to count early in this ball game, especially against a tough right-hander.
No decision in his last outing on Saturday in Chicago against the Cubs. An all-star shortstop, Hanley Ramirez, is the first batter that Volquez will face. Of course, the Marlins are being run by an interim manager, Edwin Rodriguez. He replaced Freddie Gonzalez, who was dismissed earlier in the season. And Chris Spire running the show tonight for the Reds, as he will tomorrow night, with Dusty Baker serving his suspension. Scott Rowland picks up the grounder by Ramirez. One gone. Forward defense for the Cincinnati Reds and how they are deployed. You look in the outfield, something you don't see terribly often. 3 left-handed throwing outfielders are out there tonight. And around the infield, it's been the group that has been there most all the time in the last couple of weeks, with Ramon Hernandez behind the plate.
Well, this is an awfully good defensive group, and had a tough time against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are gone now. It's back to playing regular baseball.
Put them further behind in the rearview mirror. Logan Morrison, a young left fielder, is the one-out batter for the Florida Marlins. And he is pretty much playing because of the injury sustained by Dan Coughlin, their outstanding outfielder, who injured his knee in a postgame celebration.
Well, we've seen that enough this year.
Well, and you won't see it again from the Florida Marlins. They pretty much outlawed it.
And the Angels.
And the Angels, yes. So the count 2-0 now to Logan Morrison. He will be followed by first baseman Gabby Sanchez. Edinson Volquez. And Dusty Baker. He is in Walt Jocketty's booth, the Reds general manager. The rules prohibit a suspended manager from being in the clubhouse or in his own office, so it's be in the GM's box or be at home. 3-0 the count, and a 4-pitch walk issued by Edinson Volquez. And there's Chris Spire. And you see his numbers as interim manager. He took over in San Diego when Dusty was serving a previous suspension.
He's undefeated.
Undefeated.
That's what I'm talking about.
Undefeated. So Chris Spire, who has been certainly around Dusty a lot during their post-playing careers. Chris in his career an outstanding shortstop, mostly with the San Francisco Giants.
Played with him there and played with Dusty as the hitting coach and as my manager.
That's right. Gabby Sanchez steps in to face Volquez with Logan Morrison on at first. And one out here in the top of the first inning. A strike. These two teams met way back early in the season in April. A 4-game series down in South Florida that was split. The Reds won the first 2. The Marlins won the last 2.
Well, after the 4-pitch walk to Morrison, Hernandez goes to the mound and making sure that Volquez stays on track and coming right to home plate with good extension.
Count is 1-1. Sanchez last night in the victory for the Marlins in Washington was 1 for 3 with a couple of walks. Florida got in here very late. We learned from talking to their announcers over in the next TV booth. Rich Walls and Tommy Hutton had a long rain delay to start the game last night. They didn't get that game started till about 9 p.m. or so. It was about 4 a.m. when they arrived in Cincinnati.
That's a rough trip right there, especially when you've got a lineup that is only 2 for 24 against Volquez coming into this ball game. Thank you, Daddy Wang.
Yes. Edwin Rodriguez, the interim manager of the Marlins. He was managing their AAA team in New Orleans at the time of the change. And Gabby Sanchez lifts this to Jay Bruce. 2 gone.
Well, right off the bat, Paul, I see a much more confident Edinson Volquez. He doesn't look like he's having to try so hard to make different pitches, even though he had a 4-pitch walk. That pitch there is right on the black of the outside corner. There's not too many guys in the big leagues that are going to do much with that pitch.
And it seems too, Jeff, he really didn't let the fact that he issued a 4-pitch walk be something that carried over to the next hitter.
Right, and that's gotten better and better here in the last couple of starts.
Well, Dan Uggla, who has become one of the big stars in the National League when you look at his production, is the 2-out batter. He has already become the all-time leading home run hitter in the brief history of the Florida Marlins franchise with 147. Here's a look at his season as well as what he's done this year against the Reds.
He's on a tear right now. 10 of his last 18 games, he's hit the ball out of the ballpark.
And another strike from Volquez to get ahead in the count of 0-2. 2 for 4 last night, scored a couple of runs and drove one in as the Marlins in that late night ended up beating the Washington Nationals 5-0. Sanchez on at first, 2 are down, and Volquez pitching, and it bounces away, allowing Sanchez to get on the move and advance to second base. So with 2 outs, the Marlins with a runner in scoring position. That is ruled a wild pitch.
Well, a curveball in the dirt, and right away we can see how fast Logan Morrison can move over there. And that ball is a tough ball to block for any catcher, especially when it's the bigger curveball. That ball hits in the dirt. It looks like it's going towards the first base dugout, when in actuality it's going to spin back towards the third base dugout.
1-2 the count on Dan Uggla. Maybe Sanchez out at second base. Swing and a miss. Volquez retires. Dan Uggla, no score after a half inning here at Great American. In the Marlins, the Cincinnati Reds starting lineup that Chris Spire will manage. Dusty Baker did fill out the lineup card, but that's the group that's going to take on Josh Johnson.
Well, the new guy in the lineup is that man right there, Jim Edmonds, and he was not in the lineup for the Reds during any of the ball games that they played during the first half of the season. The Reds have just gotten him, and it's just an extra left-handed power bat in the lineup against the power, hard-throwing Josh Johnson.
And there's a look at his 2010 resume.
He pitches down and away. He hits the outside corner, hits the inside corner. He stays down in the strike zone, throws a lot of fastballs, gets ahead with the fastball, and puts you away with the breaking ball.
And that ERA, the best in the league right now.
He won't walk too many.
And he struck out 10 last time he faced the Reds.
Got to go up there to hit.
Brandon Phillips will be the first hitter as he takes a strike. Brandon Phillips in the just completed series against St. Louis, like a lot of the Reds batters, struggled at the plate, 2 for 14 with an RBI. You see at the bottom there his numbers against the Florida Marlins, an average of over 300. Of course, Brandon continues to be one of the pace setters in baseball in runs scored. He is up there along with Dan Uggla and Joey Votto with 80 runs scored. Thank you, Daddy Wags. So now 1-1 the count. Josh Johnson making his first ever starting appearance at Great American Ballpark. Had appeared here once as a reliever. And somebody else who's also come back from Tommy John surgery.
It's amazing how well that surgery has progressed over the years. James Andrews and the Kerwin Jobe Clinic will do the majority of those surgeries, but it's almost become second. I mean, a no-brainer when that happens. Both Volquez and Johnson with it.
Phillips fights this one off, and probably maybe the biggest difference, Jeff, is the recovery time.
Well, it doesn't. Now, I think they have really gotten it down to what the time period that it takes and the muscles that you have to strengthen. And for most guys, it's not about strengthening the forearm and the elbow. It's about keeping the shoulder and the scapula as strong as possible.
Count now runs full on Brandon Phillips.
You come back from that injury, and a lot of times your shoulder and the back part, the upper part of your back, really doesn't get a whole lot of work during the time that you're sitting around waiting for the transition to take place.
Hanley Ramirez cannot get it with a bare hand. And Brandon Phillips will start the game off for the Reds in the bottom of the first by reaching base. We'll take a look at the Ford defense for Edwin Rodriguez and his Florida Marlins. Former Red Cody Ross out there in center, and Mike Stanton, a youngster who's turning some heads with his play. And a couple All-Stars in the middle of that infield.
And a few rookies on the field for the Marlins, flanking Cody Ross out in the outfield, and the veteran Hanley Ramirez trying to get the speedy Phillips, tried to barehand that ball and didn't quite come up with it.
No, he sure didn't. So an infield base hit is how that is ruled for Brandon Phillips. And Lance Nix, for the second time this week, he is put in the 2 spot in the batting order. And Nix right up the middle, broken back base hit. Phillips, he's going to take a turn, and he will head to third base. Cody Ross with a throw, but Phillips in safely. Something we've seen the Reds excel at in 2010. First to third.
Well, this is what the Reds have got to do to get back to that aggressive kind of baseball that we saw from the Reds before the Cardinals came to town. The Reds were playing about as good as they could possibly play. If you watch Phillips right here, he gets the jump on the ball. He turns around second base, and you can see Cody Ross has the baseball. A gamble for Phillips, but with his kind of speed, it's a good gamble at that point in the ball game.
Those of you who maybe watched the All-Star game, you remember when Scott Rowland did just that, and Brandon Phillips, who was mic'd up in the National League dugout, yelled out to the TV audience that that's how we do it in Cincinnati. Joey Votto stands in.
Most of the time when you're going to get a big-time pitcher such as Josh Johnson, you get them early. You get them right out of the gate. And that's what the Reds are trying to do right here. You put some runs on the board early. It relaxes the Reds, and it puts the pressure on the Marlins.
0-1 to count to the Reds' first baseman as Johnson throws over to first. And Joey Votto with a 4-game hitting streak coming into the game tonight.
There were a lot of quiet bats when the Cardinals were in town. The Reds only hit 186 in those 3 ball games, and I'm sure they'd like to change those ways here quickly.
Votto, base hit. That is runner on in. Lance Nix will hold stationary at second. 1-0 Reds, and an RBI base hit by Joey Votto.
Three hitters in a row now, not trying to do too much with the baseball. Look where this pitch is. I'm talking about down and in, right on the inside corner, right at the hollow of the knee. The picture-perfect strike zone pitch down. And Votto doesn't try to do too much with it. He just drops the head and pops it right through the right side.
The 78th run batted in on the year for Joey Votto.
You could almost see Votto squeeze those hands in just a little bit at the last second.
Scott Rowland the batter, and still nobody out. Well, you talked, Jeff, about bats being silent against Philadelphia. Scott Rowland's quiet to the tune of 0 for 10. Or is it Philadelphia? Excuse me, St. Louis. Quiet to the tune of 0 for 10. 1-0 pitch. Evens the count at 1-1.
You can see where Johnson is going after giving up a couple of hits. Well, 3 hits in a row. He is coming on the inside part of the plate, looking for a double play to try to get a little magic here and get out of this inning.
Nix out at second base. At first base is Votto. And Josh Johnson's 1-1 pitch. Misses on the inside. So it's 2-1 on Scott Rowland. And not only Scott 0 for 10 against the Cardinals, he is hitless in his last 12.
Well, for the good players and the good hitters, those don't last long. The 0-fers, maybe 10, maybe 12, but not a long time.
Votto's got that one. And veteran players like this, Jeff, you kind of would guess and hope at least they're not guys that start pressing too much when they run into one of those funks.
You don't panic. All you concentrate on is putting the bat to the baseball and hit the ball hard.
Joey Votto's RBI single that scores Brandon Phillips gives the Reds a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the first, and Rolen trying to add to that. Josh Johnson's last outing came last weekend at home against St. Louis. He came away with a no decision in that game.
Pretty good changeup right there by Josh. Changeup at 86 miles an hour. For some folks, that might be their fastball. But for Johnson, when you throw 94, 95, a changeup usually is about 85, 86. About 10 miles an hour off the fastball.
Two and two the count to the Reds' third baseman, and Jim Edmonds waits on deck. That pop fly will get out of play.
Pitches to Rolen. A breaking ball that stays in the heart of the plate. And he fouls it off to the right side. This is the kind of at bat that you usually see in the 7th or the 8th inning, but for the Reds right now, it's coming right out of the gate.
And again, staying alive, Scott Rolen.
And on a night like this, Paul, I mean, we know how hot it is where we sit. You can only imagine what the temperature is like down there on the field. And now to have 17 pitches here in the first inning for Johnson, and he's battling like crazy here with Rolen. We still don't have an out.
Nope. 2-2 is the count with 2 on, and a run in already for the Reds. Base hit. Scott Rolen snaps that over 12 straight. Nix round third, and headed home is Lance Nix. 2-0 Reds. RBI number 63 for Scott Rolen.
The perfect game plan coming right out of the gate for the Reds. Don't try to do too much. Just put the bat on the baseball. Look at this fastball inside, running in off the plate, and Rolen just drops the head. A very similar swing that we saw from Joey Votto. Let the pitcher's fastball do the work for you. Get the bat head to the ball. The guy's throwing 96. You get the bat head there and let him supply the power.
Still nobody out. And a couple on. And Josh Johnson dealing with Jim Edmonds. It's the second start for Edmonds since he was acquired on Monday from Milwaukee. And he is still searching for his first base hit in a Cincinnati uniform. Started the Monday night game, appeared as a pinch hitter in the last 2 games of the St. Louis series. Comes up empty, going after that inside pitch.
Looked like Johnson cut that ball just ever so slightly, and Edmonds trying to cheat for the fastball in there, and he swings right over the top of it.
RBIs by Votto and Rolen have plated the first 2 runs. And Edmonds swinging and missing at his second strike.
That one had looked at as though Johnson took even more off the breaking ball. One at 95 that he cut a little bit, a cut fastball. That pitch was a traditional slider, even though it was at 89. Looks like he's got a changeup grip in his hand right now. We'll see if that's what he gives to Edmonds down and away.
Sent to right field. Mike Stanton has it for the first out of the inning. And the runners hold their positions.
Well, a good pitch by Johnson there. He works Edmonds in the entire time. Breaking balls, cut fastballs. That was a straight fastball right above the hands of Edmonds there. And that's an awfully tough pitch to get to, especially with 2 strikes.
Jay Bruce, the 1-out hitter. 1 for 5 with a couple of walks. the first 3 games of this week against St. Louis. And that one banged up the middle off the glove of Ramirez. Around third and coming home Joey Votto. Play will be made at third where Scott Rowland is tagged out for the second out, and Jay Bruce ends up at second base. Base hit and an RBI. And the Reds have a 3-0 lead.
Boy, that ball took a wicked hop on Hanley Ramirez up the middle. For a moment, I thought that was going to be a tailor-made double play, and it ends up just devouring the glove of Ramirez. He had to lay out for it. Bounces off of his glove. Rowland trying to go first to third there, and this time Cody Ross makes a nice throw.
He certainly does. So Rowland taken off the base paths. An RBI for Jay Bruce is his 44th of the year, giving the Reds their 3rd run of the first inning, and the inning continues for Ramon Hernandez.
This is a big at bat for the Reds right here. A 3-run lead. That's awfully good. You put one more on the board, you're talking about giving a cushion to your right-hander, who is 3-0 against this club lifetime at Edinson Volquez with a 1.8 earned run average. Really allows him to have a lot of room to work.
You saw there the numbers for Ramon Hernandez. He homered earlier in the week on Monday against St. Louis. Josh Johnson has run into trouble, and immediately Chris Guccione, the home plate umpire, stops play. Phil Cuzzy is working at first base. DJ Rayburn at second, and Mike Winters takes care of the third base area.
Opponents this year against Johnson in the first inning have hit .221. Only 1 home run and only 6 runs he's given up thus far in the first inning all year. The Reds have cut that in half here right off the bat.
They sure have. And Hernandez trying to continue it. Breaks his bat. That one out into shallow left center field. Ross with it for the 3rd out. For the Reds, plate 3 after 1 full inning. 1-0 Cincinnati. Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio. And what happened on Tuesday night certainly became a big story, not only around the tri-state, but around all of baseball, with a brawl that occurred between the Reds and the Cardinals. And you get a look there at Johnny Cueto up against the net. Well, Johnny Cueto got the stiffest of the penalties that were dished out by baseball's office yesterday. Johnny Cueto given a 7-game suspension, which he will not appeal. So his suspension starting tonight, as do the 2-game suspensions for each of the managers, Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa. Fines were given to Brandon Phillips and Russ Springer of the Reds, as well as Yadier Molina and Chris Carpenter of the Cardinals. And a little later on, our text poll, we're going to try and solicit some thoughts of our viewers of what they think about the 7-game suspension given to Johnny Cueto. But, you know, it was, you saw, Jeff, where Johnny was trapped up against the net there, and certainly not to excuse anything, but that kicking motion with the spikes is certainly what got a high on a lot of people's radar.
Well, that's the thing that put him behind the 8 ball as far as the suspension goes. But I've been out there in those types of things before, and when you're trapped and you've got no place to go, there are people taking cheap shots at you. They're trying to do whatever they can. I mean, you got people grabbing for fingers, and you think I'm kidding by saying that. It happens.
Cody Ross with a slow roller that Edinson Volquez will underhand over the bottom to get the first out of the inning.
And you would think that that would never happen in a civilized game, but I'm telling you, it does happen. I've had guys take cheap shots at me, blindsided, grab you from the back of the jersey and take a headshot just like you would in a barroom brawl, and you're out there on the field in front of 50,000.
There's Dusty Baker watching the game tonight from Walt Jocketty's box. He will be out of the dugout tonight and tomorrow. Chris Beyer, the bench coach, is running the show, but Dusty able to be at the stadium and in his office all day today to put the lineup together and do his normal work. And Chris Beyer, as we showed you in the last inning, 2-0 back in 2008 when he served as an interim manager. He was out in San Diego. Here's a good-looking young rookie, Mike Stanton, the Marlins right fielder. He has turned some heads with his play. They just completed series sweep in Washington. He hit a massive, mammoth home run at Nationals Park. And also had a 5-base hit night. This one popped into left center field. Jim Edmonds draws a beat on it, and the first two have been retired in the Florida batting order.
This is what we're talking about when we're talking about adjustments. Watch the 0-2 breaking ball to Dan Uggla with a runner at first base and 2 outs. The runner takes off for second. Look at the adjustment here. Uggla definitely looking for a fastball. He is way out in front. Instead of the ball bouncing away, the ball is right at the bottom of the catcher's mitt. As a matter of fact, the ball would have bounced had Hernandez not caught the baseball. A perfect pitch.
Wes Helms, the 2-out batter. Veteran infielder and pinch hitter supreme. Let's look at what he has done this season. And that one into left field for a base hit for Helms. The first base hit of the night for the Marlins.
And when you've got the physical tools that we've seen from Volquez, I mean, we've seen him hit anywhere from 93 to 97, and he throws this pitch right where he needs to, middle away, keep the ball in the strike zone, make them swing the bat, and that's exactly what Helms does. Nobody on, 2 outs. That's where that pitch is supposed to be.
And catcher Ronnie Paulino. We'll see if he can't try and keep the top of the second going. Bounces this one where Paul Yanish will back. Retire Helms at second, and the top of the second comes to an end. 3-0. Reds with a lead over the Marlins. center field during tonight's game. Sherry Audie of Walton, Kentucky will win this beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. Register for your chance to win at an upcoming game by visiting your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. We move to the bottom of the second here at Great American. There's a good look from the sky. You got the blimp working this weekend around here. Look at Great American Ballpark. The Reds with 3 in the top of the first to take a 3-0 lead.
It's a good-looking shot right there.
Isn't that the truth? Paul Yanish, Edinson Volquez, and Brandon Phillips. The 3 scheduled to face Josh Johnson. Yanish looking at a strike. You know, Chris and I were sitting up here this week crowing about how well Paul Yanish had done, especially at the plate, filling in for Cabrera, and that all kind of came to an end in that series against the Marlins as he looks at something inside. Paul 1 for 11 in that series.
Yeah, well, everybody
against the Cardinals, excuse me.
Everybody against the Cardinals was trying to do too much. You can't hit a 5-run homer. It's impossible.
Yanish looks at it outside. This is the 7th time this year the Reds have put 3 runs up on the board in the first inning.
Well, the big thing for the Reds is to keep the pressure on the Marlins, especially from the offensive front. Don't give Josh Johnson an easy inning. Make him work for everything he's got, and you can knock him out of the ball game before he gets to the 6th or 7th inning. Make him only pitch 5 innings.
Well, Yanish has worked him into a full count.
The more times you can foul off pitches and work to this kind of count. I mean, Johnson had him 0-2 right off the bat. Now you've worked to a position where you've made him throw 4 extra pitches.
There's a look at what Paul has done in his career against the Florida Marlins, and beautiful base on balls to the Red shortstop. So Yanish moves on down to first. Aerial coverage provided by DirecTV. Get every MLB game and the most in HD. Call 1-800-DIRECTV. There's another good looking shot.
It's way up there. That kind of makes your stomach kind of roll a little bit. See from way up like that.
Well, you mean from being in the blimp looking down or looking up at it?
No, from the blimp looking down.
Edinson Volquez shows Bonnie he has once this year, in the brief time he has been active, executed a successful sacrifice bunt.
Well, he's got to turn his feet a little bit more than what he is right now, and he's got to get the bat out over the plate. That ball was right on the outside corner, and from where he was standing, there was no way he's going to be able to get to the ball. Now he's ready to bunt.
And he gets it in play right at Josh Johnson, who took a look at second, changed his mind. Volquez, his second sack bunt of the season as it moves Paul Yanish on down to second base. And right now you can chat with Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy. Plus get the latest from Bengals and Bearcats camp on FoxSportsOhio.com. Presented by 1-800-SAVE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. And no, Hal is not out on the River Queen. Hal is here in the press box where he usually is stationed. He might like to be out there.
Yeah, might like to be feeling that breeze right now.
2 out, bottom of the second. Paul Yanish out at second, and Brandon Phillips, who started the offense off of the Reds with an infield base hit, will step in against Josh Johnson. Comes up swinging and missing.
That's a tough pitch right there in the arsenal of Johnson. That cut fastball. You can call it a cut fastball, call it a slider, whatever you'd like to call it, but the ball looks like a fastball until right at the last second you see that baby just bite down and away. And if you're looking fastball, you're not about to be able to hold up there.
Phillips scored on the RBI single by Joey Votto to give the Reds the first of their 3 runs. Now, how about a guy 6'7", Jeff, and the advantage he gets being on the mound coming at a downward angle?
Well, the tilt on the baseball means that when he's throwing strikes, especially low in the strike zone, the ball is really only in the strike zone on the front half of the plate. And by the time it gets towards the batter or towards where you're going to swing, the ball's even lower than what it would normally be.
Phillips bounces this 1-1 pitch by the mound, but there's Ugla to field it, and the inning comes to an end. The Reds go in order, but after, or I'm sorry, second out, excuse me. Sorry about that. I saw Ugla moving toward the line. Forgive me.
You're all right, big guy.
So 2 are down.
That's that big walk that Yanish had. See, had him 0-2. We're thinking he's going to strike out. He comes back with a walk there.
And Phillips gets him over to third.
Now this is the spot where either Phillips or Nix, with that runner standing out there, as in Giannis, you really want to get him in right here. Phillips did everything that he could. Now it's up to Nix,
who had the second base hit of the game and scored the second run of the game for the Reds.
And that was just a big, strong kid on a fastball inside where Johnson exploded his bat, but strong enough to fist it out in between the second baseman and the shortstop and right over the second base bag.
More good patience by Lance Nix. He was 2 for 5 against St. Louis this week.
Almost to 40 pitches for Josh Johnson here, and he's trying to get his last out of the second inning.
Now 2-1 to the Reds left fielder. We talked this week during the Cardinals series, Jeff, about the challenge a guy that doesn't play a lot has to try and keep himself sharp at the plate.
Well, that's one thing that Nix has done. So has Heisey. The guys that have not been playing on an everyday basis but have been very productive as of late, they have kept themselves sharp and have gotten just enough at bats to stay good.
Big rip by Lance Nix. And with the acquisition of Jim Edmonds, Dusty Baker has one additional outfielder now to get into the mix.
And not only an additional outfielder, but it gives you one more veteran bat that you can use off the bench, or you can start in a ball game in a position like this where you've got a very tough right-hander on the mound.
2-2 pitch. Count now runs full.
Some awfully good at bats thrown out by the Reds here early. The one thing that you've got to hope for is that they can continue to do this throughout the game. You get into that bullpen early against Florida, you got a chance to really pop some runs on the board.
Josh Johnson with a payoff pitch to Lance Nix. Nix stays alive.
He's gone away, he's gone in, he's gone up, and he's gone down. And Nix is still hanging on. The one thing he hasn't done is thrown him that fastball inside, because that's the pitch that Nix handled the first go-round.
Paul Giannis, the runner at third. And with 2 outs, Nix will walk on down to first base. Second walk of the inning.
Not normally what you see from Josh Johnson, and it's really not about mechanics. It's not about anything else other than the fact that the Reds have put together some phenomenal at-bats. You get ahead in the count, 0-2 as a pitcher, you think, I'm going to put this guy away right now. And as the Reds are fouling off pitches, you think, all right, I'll go just a little bit further away. Well, then it ends up being a ball, and you start to get deep into the count.
Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, out there to take a look at him. Not only is Freddie Gonzalez gone from the Marlins after their managerial change, a familiar face to Reds fans, Jeff, Dave Collins, who was the first base coach, no longer around.
Yeah.
Edwin Rodriguez is the interim manager for the Marlins. He had been in charge of their AAA team in New Orleans. The Marlins have had Jack McKeon as a manager who managed here, and even Tony Perez for a while served as an interim manager down in Florida.
Well, they've had some pretty good managers in that Marlins system. I mean, Joe Girardi was there. He was the manager of the year. They fired him. And I guess you're just better off just losing. Maybe if you lose, then they won't fire you.
That makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Joey Votto.
Seems like the guys that have won end up getting fired. Thought Gonzalez was doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. Of course, this is a team, despite all of that, they're still kind of in the middle of everything.
And that's after trading Jorge Cantu.
Yes. Votto on the one bounce. Ramirez has a little trouble. Throws, and he does just get Joey Votto. After 2 full here at Great American, the Reds have a 3-0 lead over the Marlins.
ball game, I've been suspended. You know, and it's like, I never got suspended my whole life at school or out of anything until I got to be, you know, a manager. So, I really don't like it. I've been having a sour taste in my mouth like all day about this.
And that's our Geico quote of the night. Jim Day with you down here just beside the Reds dugout. I talked to Dusty Baker today as Edison Volquez goes to work against Josh Johnson here in the third inning. And I said, well, Dusty, you've got to sit up in the general manager's booth, but, you know, technology could allow you to communicate. How about some text messages down to Chris Spire? And he kind of hesitated and thought about it a minute, and he said, you know, it's a pretty good idea. However, I'm horrible at texting. By the time I get the text done, the play would be over. So no texting tonight and no cell phone in front of Chris Spire, as I can see. Once again, a completely managed game by Chris Spire tonight.
Josh Johnson, as you said, Jim, is leading off the top of the third here for the Marlins. And there's also been some new changes to what happens with a manager in this situation. We'll start first off. Managers cannot appeal their suspensions. So both Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa, their punishment had to begin immediately.
Yeah, they get just a big old hang with them.
They were also, according to the report from MLB, hit in the wallet as well. Count 2-2, Edinson Volquez to Josh Johnson. And Johnson will ground this where Brandon Phillips can gobble up and throw him out for the first out of the inning. Reds fans, make your Friday nights better by going to FoxSportsOhio.com and enter to win the Papa's in Your House contest. You can win a Fox Sports Ohio prize pack, and one grand prize winner will win a pizza party. The Papa's in Your House contest is presented by Papa John's. The other kind of a new twist, apparently, I don't know how recently this was decided on, but somebody asked Dusty about jokingly, but somewhat mildly serious, come sit in the press box with the writers. And you can't do that because it was done once before.
Really?
Bobby Cox did it one time.
Sat with the writers?
Well, you know what he did. As we're back to the top of the order, and Hanley Ramirez, and this is another one of the great tales from Hal McCoy from all of his years of covering baseball. And there's a look at the press box where the writers and non-broadcast media people sit. Bobby Cox came up into the press box. And if I remember correctly how Hal explained it, he was here in Cincinnati. And the writers used to always do an attendance pool in the press box at Riverfront. You know, everybody throw in a few coins and guess the attendance. Bobby Cox got in the pool and won it.
No way. Oh, boy.
And won it. Basically, what the writers would do is guess the attendance for that night.
That's not good. Ruh-roh.
0-2. And Ramirez gone on a called strike 3 from Edinson Volquez, and Hanley doesn't like it. He does not like it.
Curveball, changeup, swing and miss, and then here's a 94-mile-an-hour heater right on the outside corner, about mid-thigh high. Good night, Irene. Look at that baby come back to the plate. Nice pitch.
Edinson Volquez take to a 3-0 lead. The two-out hitter is Logan Morrison. Morrison was walked in the first inning. And then a wild pitch allowed him to get to second base, but he was left stranded there. And for some of the former media people and current media people around where we talk about the attendance pool, the late Joe Minster, who covered the Reds for the Hamilton Journal, used to be the guy that would go around and ask for everybody to chip in and get in the attendance pool.
He won the thing, huh?
Yes. Wow. And there were always questions about if Joe Minster was running it properly.
Yeah.
The late Joe Minster. Logan Morrison now looking at a 3-ball no strike count.
Well, evidently Logan Morrison either has a great eye or Volquez is just having a little bit of trouble finding the zone when he's facing this young left-hander.
And he looks at a strike.
He definitely was taking until he got a strike, because he didn't even move on the 1-0 changeup, and that was a pretty good pitch.
Morrison had his contract purchased from AAA New Orleans on July 27th. And he looks at another strike. And he's playing because of the knee injury suffered by Chris Coughlin. He had surgery this week. Chris Coughlin did, the Rookie of the Year last year, and injured his knee in a post-game celebration, delivering a shaving cream pie to the face of a teammate after a game. Morrison, base hit right field. So a 2-out knock for the Marlins.
You can see both in and out, and this last pitch is a changeup that starts in and runs back over the inside corner. Not a bad pitch, but yet with a changeup, you'd rather have that pitch going away from the hitter, and in that situation, it ends up inside, and Morrison is able to get the bat head to it easily.
So the switch hitting first baseman, Gabby Sanchez, will step in 0 for 1, as you can see tonight. And Volquez trying to get the Marlins out and move to the bottom of the third. Sanchez back in late June, early July, had an 8-game hitting streak going for the Marlins.
He has definitely turned up the heat on swinging the bat since we saw him early in the season.
Started the game with a batting average of .290. He's gone deep 12 times.
27 doubles for a youngster like this. That's some good hitting. That's driving the ball the other way a lot in that ballpark.
Little in tight from Volquez. We talk about how Florida is keeping themselves as part of the discussion. They are in the National League East 8.5 back. They are 7.5 out in the wild card standings. Two and 1, 2 and 2.
That's twice now that Volquez was behind the count 1-0, breaking ball for a strike. 2 and 1, he throws the changeup there for a strike.
There you see how Gabby Sanchez has done amongst the freshmen around Major League Baseball's National League. And he preached badly and missed it that one. So Volquez retires the Marlins 3-0. Reds with a lead. $10,000 fans 14 and younger at the Reds Marlins game receive a kid's catcher's backpack, which looks just like a catcher's chest protector. Get tickets now by calling 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com. You can get a hold of one of those for your little girl.
Oh, I've seen those. Those are pretty sharp.
Scott Rowland to lead off the bottom of the third for the Reds, who lead 3-0.
We'll have to get 3 of them. One for each of the kids and one for the Cowboys.
Yeah,
that's right.
If it's free, it's for me. Take 3, right?
You got it. You got it.
Scott Rowland ended an 0 for 12 skid by coming up with an RBI base hit in the first, and then was thrown out trying to get to third base on a hit by Jay Bruce. 0-2 to the Reds' third baseman. Jim Edmonds is on deck.
Rowland was in the same spot back in the first inning. Got down quick in the count and fouled off. I don't know how many pitches, but he ended up getting a hit. I think it was a 10 or 11 pitch at bat. He finally ended up with a hit down the left field line.
All 3 of the Reds' runs came in the first inning. A 5-hit first inning. Rowland streams that one fair down the line past third and into left field. He'll motor on into second base with a double. 2 for 2 for Scott Rowland.
Logan Morrison was very fortunate right there as that ball came around the wall. He had to grab it with his bare hand down the left field line. A hanging breaking ball by Josh Johnson on the inside part of the plate. And that ball hugs the wall all the way around. And if you'll watch Morrison right here at the end of this play, he comes up a little quick on it and he has to grab it with his bare hand, and that just almost got by him. That would have gotten ugly.
23rd double of the year, as you can see, for Scott Rowland and Jay Bruce. We'll see if he can bring him around.
Paul, you get this many pitches.
Jim Edmonds, excuse me.
You get this many pitches early in the ball game. We're in the low 50s now for Josh Johnson, even for the greatest of pitchers. That's a lot of pitches early, and you start to see the fatigue.
One comes in and started to get away, but Ronnie Paulino kept it in front of him.
What ends up happening is your legs may stay underneath you for a little while, but your arm starts to feel heavy because you've gotten so many pitches here early in the ball game. When your arm gets heavy, you try to make up for it by speeding up your arm, and you see the pitches down in the dirt there and the hanging breaking ball to Rowland on the batter before.
Now 2-1 to Jim Edmonds. Going to be interesting to see how the division of time works regarding Jim Edmonds and how often he'll start and be out there.
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the production from his at-bats. If he's hitting the baseball, he's going to play. But if not, he's probably going to be off the bench.
And this one grounded at first. Covering is the pitcher Johnson as the pickup was made by Gabby Sanchez. But moving on to third is Scott Rowland on the fielder's choice. And when the Reds get it done with an RBI this season, that means another $25 from Shakely for the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done.
You could really see Jim Edmonds there take that pitch that was away from him and really hook that ball to the right side, allowing Rowland to go to third base here with 1 out. And that's what you have to do. You get a runner at second with nobody on. You move the runner over and you try to manufacture a run here with Jay Bruce.
Bruce with a base hit and an RBI. It's a fielder's choice. Really, technically not a fielder's choice because there was no other option, but it does the same thing.
Right. And you can do it either with the bunting of the baseball or you can do it by swinging the bat, but Edmonds does it perfectly.
A productive out. 2-0 the count to Jay Bruce. The Reds have succeeded in getting Josh Johnson's pitch count up. He is beyond the 50 pitch mark. Deals the strike to Jay Bruce. The Tuesday game for Jay Bruce was the only game all season that he has not played in. Checks, but does so in time. He has played in 114 of the Reds' 115 games this year.
This is a big spot for Jay right here.
3-1. Now 3-2. He got the rest with Jaime Garcia, the lefty, on the mound.
What Jay's got to think of right here is that Johnson is not going to give him a perfect pitch because Johnson doesn't care if he walks him or not.
Right.
You put Jay on here, you got a right-hander on deck, then you look for the double play. A slow runner is standing on deck. You may not get a perfect pitch here to hit. Got to be selective.
Serves this up the middle. Ramirez is going to come home, and Roland slides in
What
safely.
a great slide. What a great slide by Roland. Wow.
Navigated himself right around Ronnie Polino.
He slides all the way to the third base side. Watch Bruce here. This pitch is off the plate. He hits it right back up the middle. And a great job by Ramirez. Watch where Ramirez comes. He throws the ball home. The slide is back here behind the plate, and then he reaches. Look at all of this area here. That's Roland's slide. Watch him reach back with the arm. He gets just underneath the tag, and Roland is in there. That is a big-time slide and a big-time play by Roland.
4-0 Reds as Jay Bruce gets his second RBI of the night. Ramon Hernandez, the batter.
Well, you talk about manufacturing a run there. The hook to the right side by Jim Edmonds, and then that pitch by Jay Bruce. He just reached out there and slapped it up the middle, and Roland going on contact with a great slide. That's great baseball.
And it's the 4th run for the Reds. And Bruce out at first as Hernandez looks to continue the inning. And Ramirez was in a pretty good position to make that throw.
He really was, and he made a good throw. The problem was that Ronnie Polino ever so slightly moved towards the mound to catch the baseball. And it's just instinct. You go towards the ball, and then you have to reach back to tag. As a catcher, you don't go towards the ball. Let the ball come to you. The ball is moving way faster than you can ever move. So you sit on home plate. Mike Scioscia, the manager for the Angels, was always the best at that. He sat right on top of the plate, waited for the ball to come to him, and he never lets you get to the plate. You would never be able to put that kind of slide on a catcher like Mike Scioscia.
You do what Norm Charlton did.
Yeah, you have to run him over. By the time the ball got to Scioscia, there was no plate for you to touch. He was sitting on it.
He certainly was one of the best at that.
Man.
2-1 on Ramon Hernandez as Josh Johnson has found himself in trouble almost from the get-go of the night. Here's Scott Rowland. And some great baseball savvy to see what was going on and how to try and get in and around. 2-1 the count to Ramon Hernandez. Hit a fly ball to center field in his first at bat. Comes up empty on that swing.
The only thing that you have to worry about on a slide like that with Scott Rowland is that left arm is the arm that he's had the surgeries on. That was the arm that took him out of play when he was with the Cardinals in the playoffs, and that's the same slide or same arm that he had to use on that slide there. And you could see kind of the grimace on the face as he slid home. Seems to be moving it okay with the water right now, though.
Yeah, he does. Hernandez has hit safely in 3 games in a row, and they've been multi-hit games.
Comes in here, what, 7 for 11 coming into the game today?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it's putting the bat on the baseball.
There you see what he's done in the month of August, and a two-headed monster, if you want to call it that. He and Brian Hannigan behind the plate.
Those numbers for the catchers have just been out of orbit. I don't think anybody could have predicted that coming into the 2010 season, that they would put up those kind of numbers in combined fashion.
And also the contributions of Corky Miller while he was here.
Exactly.
There's Ryan Hannigan. And both Hannigan and Hernandez have spent time on the disabled list. That bounce off the mound, off the chest of Helms, but he's able to gather and throw to get the second out. So Hernandez is gone on the grounder to Wes Helms. The Honda standings, we take a look at the National League division races and the wild card standings as well. There you see the Reds a game behind the Cardinals. Cincinnati in the National League wild card standings a game and a half out. They would be right behind Philadelphia, who's right behind San Francisco. Padres still setting the pace out in the West. Atlanta a couple ahead of Philadelphia.
That last ground ball by Hernandez should have been a double play ball by the Marlins. But because of the fielding of Helms, that ball hit off of his chest and bounced in front of him. He couldn't get Bruce at second. His only play was to first, and now you've got a big chance for a 2-out 5th run.
Well, Giannis trying to take advantage of that chance. He walked in his earlier at bat. You mentioned Jorge Cantu, who had been taking care of third base for most of the year for the Marlins before being traded away. 1-1 is the count to the Red shortstop. Edinson Volquez on deck. And a pop fly from Giannis that should end the inning. Gabby Sanchez has it, but the Reds throw another run on the board. And after 3 full, it is 4-0. A home team with a lead. You can register to win the Tundra at Great American Ballpark. By JTM, food, family, fun. JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by GMC, we are professional grade. 4-0. Redlegs lead the Marlins as we move to the top of the 4th inning here at Great American Ballpark. Nice glimpse there of the skyline.
That is some kind of beautiful shots.
If not mistaken, I believe that's looking out toward the west side of town.
That's right.
Toward the west end.
Beautiful.
Down towards Sailor Park.
Speaking of beautiful, that's what Volquez has been so far. So good.
Yes, he has. Let's check the Marlins on a couple of base hits. Florida's left 3 stranded.
This is the first time out that I've seen him look this comfortable early in the ball game. And a lot of it is just trusting himself and getting pitches to where he wants them to go. But he started from the get-go, pounding that strike zone.
And he's got a 1-1 count on Dan Ugla, the Florida second baseman. There was a lot of talk that Ugla might be a player that could have been dealt away before the trading deadline. And what a pickup he would have been for someone. Since the year 2006, he has led all major league second basemen with 147 home runs.
Well, they definitely have a dynamic duo up the middle as far as run production with Hanley Ramirez and Danny Ugla at second base. Ugla's defense may not be among the top in the league, but he can flat hit.
He sure can.
And he's no scrum over there at second base. He can catch the baseball. He can turn the double play.
2-2 the count on Dan Ugla, who will be followed by Cody Ross and Mike Stanton. Marlins with a 4-game winning streak coming into play tonight. By Scott Rowland and into left field. And that's ruled as a base hit for Dan Ugla. Hit that right on the screws.
Yeah, that's the first batter tonight that has led off an inning and gotten on, and that almost takes Scott Rowland's face off. Tough hop there, and we saw a tough hop earlier up the middle on Hanley Ramirez as he was going for Jay Bruce's ball.
Got very little time to react down there at third base. So former Red Cody Ross, the second batter of the inning, with Ugla on at first base. And Volquez starts him off with an off-speed strike.
Well, so far for Volquez, he has had command of all three pitches: the fastball, the changeup, and the curveball. And he's been able to use them regardless of what the count has been.
This count 0-1. Ross will send this one to center for Jim Edmonds. Has got it. One down. So Mike Stanton will be the next batter, and it is time for our AT&T trivia question. You know how much you love those trivia questions on the radio, Cowboy. What two Reds players share the record for the most consecutive hits? And we bring this up because of what's going on with Casey McGee of Milwaukee. With his 4-for-4 performance yesterday, he set a Brewer franchise record with 9 consecutive hits spread over 3 games.
Well, I know one of them because I heard it being talked about.
Yes.
But I don't know the other.
Would you have guessed the one you knew?
No.
I agree. Right there with you.
My first guess would have been Pete.
And second and third.
Yeah, anything that has to do with consecutive hits, I would pick him.
Stanton, sharp grounder by Roland. That's going to allow Ross to get at least to third base, and he'll be stopped at third base. And there's going to be a play on him there as he's caught now between third and home. It's Ugla, excuse me, not Ross, and he's tagged out as Ugla took a big turn at third and got caught in no man's land.
Well, what happens there is Ugla is thinking he's going to score from first base, and he was turning on the jet surrounding third. He's being held up at third, and he can't stop. By the time he gets stopped, Nix is on the baseball. He thinks this ball is going to go into the corner and rattle around. Nix gets the ball and shoots it in a hurry, and Phillips has got it. And by the time Phillips gets the baseball, Ugla's dead.
That was a well-struck baseball by Mike Stanton.
And you can see that play being in front of Ugla all the way, and he was thinking score. And you get caught in no man's land.
Third base coach Joey Espada immediately had the stop sign up, and hit by the pitch is Wes Helms, as that one clearly got away from Volquez.
Well, that's a curveball that came out of the hand of Volquez a little bit too soon. And when you're on a hot and humid night like this, sometimes they slip out of your fingers. You can't do much about that.
So Helms will trot on down to first base. Mike Stanton is at second, and Edinson Volquez will turn his attention to Ronnie Paulino. Bounced into a fielder's choice that ended the second inning. Reds with a 4-run lead. 4-zip. The Marlins have tried to make this a threatening opportunity as that ball bounces in front of Hernandez.
Is that a 7-4-2-5? Is that how?
That is exactly what it was. 7-4-2-5 is how they put out on Dan Ugla. He has scored.
Just checking, people want to score, and I'm going to make sure I have.
You were the most important people you were concerned about.
That's exactly right.
The Reds scored 3 in the bottom of the first and 1 in the bottom of the third. Paulino, for many years, catching with Pittsburgh, and Edwin Rodriguez, the manager, has expressed some concern that he may be going through some fatigue, and that's what's led to his plummeting batting average since the All-Star break. And Volquez gets the inside portion of the plate.
Well, when you look at Paulino's batting average, he's hit left-handers fine. As a matter of fact, he's hit them probably better than any catcher in the big leagues. But when you face right-handed pitchers, he's at a 223 clip, and that ain't going to cut it.
So another strike.
Well, that is a wicked pitch right there. You throw a curveball inside, you get the guy thinking off-speed pitch, and then you blister him with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball right on the outside corner, and you can't even pull the trigger on that.
1-2 with 2 outs. And that one bounces again in front of Hernandez. We mentioned it his first at bat. Ronnie Paulino hitting 182 since the All-Star break. The Marlins in the midst of a 10-game road trip so far. On this road trip, Paulino is 0 for 7, 0 for 8 now. Here's a look at how the year has split up for him. Count now runs full.
The ball stayed a little bit straight for Volquez there. It looked like he was trying to hump up on that pitch a little bit, throw it a little bit too hard, and a lot of times when you try to throw the ball too hard, your wrist will stiffen up a little bit instead of being nice and loose, and that ball will stay straight instead of your usual run.
Ball 4 to Paulino. So the bases will be loaded for the pitcher. It's the second walk that Volquez has issued to the Fish tonight.
Well, in the situation that Volquez has found himself in this inning, that's not a bad way to handle the number 8 hitter. The last thing that you want to do is give up a gift run when you've got a chance to put the pitcher at the plate with 2 outs.
So Josh Johnson, the pitcher, will be up there with 2 outs and the bases full of Marlins. By the way, first inning in St. Louis, the Cubs with a 2-0 lead over the Cardinals. We'll be keeping an eye on that. St. Louis with a 1-game lead over the Reds in the National League Central Division. Josh Johnson in the season, 5 base hits in 50 at bats. Bounced out to Brandon Phillips in the 3rd inning.
I think it also tells you a little bit about the confidence of Volquez being able to pitch around a guy in front of him, knowing that he can throw strikes here.
You can hear the fans' reaction. Johnson has 2 career home runs. It's the 20th pitch of the inning from Edinson Volquez. And that one to Votto. He'll get the force to Paul Janisch. And the Marlins remain scoreless after 3.5. 4-0 Reds. Ticket prices starting just at $7. And for additional savings, plan a group outing of 25 or more. Get your tickets by calling 381-REDS or go to reds.com. And a good crowd on hand here tonight at Great American Ballpark, and they've seen the Reds take a 4-0 lead over the Florida Marlins as we roll into the bottom of the fourth.
Early in this ball game for Josh Johnson, check out the pitch count down here. Wow, that's a whole lot of pitches. 20 in every inning, and for a guy that leads the major leagues in earned run average, you don't usually see that. That's credit to the batters for the Reds really working the count. And then you look on the flip side here with Edinson Volquez, only 42 pitches. That's really the first time here in the first 3 innings we've seen him do that well.
And to add to those numbers, you saw Edinson Volquez in the top of this inning, 20 pitches, so he's now at 62. Edinson leading off the inning for the Reds. His first at-bat, a sacrifice bunt that he was able to lay down. And boy, on a hot, humid night, that's going to go to work on those guys out there.
You got that right.
0-2 the count to Edinson Volquez. Josh Johnson trying to retire his opposite number, but he issues him ball 1.
And I think for the Reds, if they can just continue to put the same types of quality at bats against Johnson.
Volquez on. Quality at bat. Quality result.
Tell you what, that looked like a Pro V1 off of one of my pitching wedges heading up to the green. That ball stopped right at the end of the bat. Watch this ball as it's spinning there as Uggla tries to come get it, and it spins right out of his glove. Check out this swing. Backside to the third base dugout.
Look at the bat shaking.
Throw the bat at the ball. It looked like the ball almost knocked the bat backwards. That's not supposed to happen.
And he scored as a base hit for Edinson Volquez, his first of 2010. Base hit number 7 on the night for the Reds. Brandon Phillips, who had the first base hit, which was also an infield single.
Well, the Reds have a real chance right here if they can put together some quality at bats to put Johnson in a real tough situation.
Mentioned it earlier. Phillips, Votto, and Dan Uggla all tied for the lead in the National League in runs scored. Brandon Phillips, one of the 4 players who were fined, not suspended, but fined as a result of that fight on Tuesday night. 1-2 the count on the Reds All-Star second baseman.
After the first inning and Phillips and Votto scoring a run, it looks as though they may have
taken that by themselves.
Slipped ahead of the old boy for the Marlins ahead. Mr. Danny Uggla,
who got himself caught between third and home and ruined his chance to stay part of the party.
He was trying to score.
He was trying. 2-2 the count to Phillips with Lance Nix on deck. There's Dan Uggla. These 2 teams will be here tomorrow night to play an evening game. Mike Leake and Sean West. And then Sunday afternoon, a 1:10 start. Anibal Sanchez to pitch for Florida. The Reds have not officially announced who will be the starting pitcher on Sunday, which would have been Johnny Cueto's turn, but there are a lot of very, very strong indications that it very well could be Homer Bailey. There's Aaron Harang down in the dugout, but Homer Bailey was in the clubhouse. And Dusty Baker saying they've got a plan, but he wasn't ready to reveal it.
Another count for Josh Johnson, 0-2 to 3-2.
And Phillips with the ball that will carry foul. Homer Bailey was dealing with some shoulder issues, has been working in rehab. Johnny Cueto, in essence, will miss 1 start with his 7-game suspension.
And I think that's one of the reasons that the Reds decided not to appeal it, because they have the arms ready right now to make sure that the Cueto suspension doesn't hurt him.
Phillips with a bouncer. Ramirez has it. Gets it over to Uggla, and they'll get the out at second, which will be the first out of the inning. Time now for the answer to our AT&T trivia question, as Edinson Volquez has taken off the base pass. What two Reds players share the record for most consecutive hits? The answer that we became aware of earlier was Leon Bip Roberts. There's the Bipster. Woody Williams is the other one.
Oh, Riverfront.
Yes.
Those were the days.
There's the Bipster.
Doug Harvey just got into the Hall of Fame.
And they're out the first pitch tonight here. Lance Nix with a swing and a miss. Last I saw, I think Bip was coaching college baseball out at UNLV. I don't know if he still is or not. Came to the Reds from San Diego. Could play all over the infield and all over the outfield.
The ultimate in utility player. When you can play shortstop and center field, you can play all the rest.
Had an all-star season while he was here in Cincinnati. Lance Nix had a base hit in the second. And if not mistaken, Jeff, I believe Bip Roberts was the last Reds player to wear number 10 before it was retired for Sparky Anderson.
Wow.
Not sure. Eddie Thomas, yep, he was probably the last one. That one grounded by Hanley Ramirez. By Lance Nix into center field, and the inning will continue for the Reds. Second hit of the night for Nix.
Well, Phillips was just about to head to third base again, and Cody Ross has learned his lesson. This ball is away from Nix, and he hammers it right back up the box. Another base hit for Lance Nix. And watch Cody Ross come and get this baseball. Boom. In a hurry. No more running on me, he says.
So Phillips at second, Nix at first. And Joey Votto, the batter, and Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, is going to once again make a walk out to the mound to talk to Josh Johnson, who's now at 83 pitches.
And they do have someone warming up in that Marlin bullpen. And I think this is as much from St. Clair to give Taylor Tankersley a chance to get loose down there, a left-hander, in case Johnson just runs out of gas here, and that's what the Reds are working towards. This will be an awfully important at-bat here for Votto, and then following with Roland, because you've got Edmonds, Bruce coming right behind them, two left-handers. You do anything right here, and Johnson will be out of this ball game.
There you see what Joey Votto has done on the night. His RBI single came as part of the Reds' 3-run first inning. He got fooled on that one. 8 base hits on the night for the Reds.
Johnson is fighting for his right to stay in the game right here. This is an inning where the Reds can force him to the sidelines.
And Votto in a 2-strike hold.
Change up away for strike 1. Slider down in for strike 2. And an 88-mile-an-hour breaking ball that starts on the inside corner after a changeup. Tough pitch to even foul off, as we saw with Votto there.
Josh Johnson bearing in. 2 on the pond for the Reds, who have a 4-0 lead. And Votto chops this by Sanchez into right field. Phillips is going to come racing home. There'll be a play to third base on Lance Nix. He's taken out. 2 down, but the Reds with another run to take a 5-0 lead on the RBI base hit by Votto.
It's twice tonight that we've seen Joey Votto pull off what I would describe as an alligator arm swing. Watch him pull these arms in here. Pulls the arms in, gets the top hand over the baseball quickly, and shoots it right through the hole. It takes an awful lot of upper body strength and a lot of left hand strength. If you're a right-handed thrower, you probably can't make that swing there. But because of Votto being left-handed and being a stronger arm, he pulls it right through.
Base hit number 9 for the Redlegs. And Scott Rowland at the plate looking for his 3rd base hit of the night. Drove in a run in the first, doubled and scored in the 3rd. In the Cardinals series, the Reds were 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Tonight, 4 for 11. A testament to the Cardinals pitching.
Well, I think this game tonight will give the Reds a whole lot of confidence, barring the fact that, as long as they hold on to this win, or lead, I should say, it's going to give them a whole lot of confidence against an A-line pitcher. You're talking about the top pitcher in the big leagues in ERA, and you're putting some phenomenal at-bats on. What it does, Paul, is it teaches you something in your head that, okay, we may not be able to hit home runs against a frontline pitcher like we do everybody else, but we can still beat them by putting good at-bats together, driving the ball up the middle, and using the whole team to score runs with each other.
And they've been very patient in their approach with him tonight.
Yes, they have.
2-1 the count. Now 3-1.
This may be Johnson's last batter here.
See what Scott Rowland has done against him in his career.
He's had Rowland down in the count 0-2 both at bats, and now he's down 3-1 here.
Rowland will spank that one foul on the right side.
Third consecutive 3-2 count for Rowland. How about that?
And earlier in the year, Jeff, this was a Reds team that usually went up there hacking earlier than need be in some cases.
And they saved these types of at-bats for later in the ballgame. That's why they have so many comeback wins.
Here you saw how the pitch count's been divvied up for Josh Johnson. And Scott Rowland to left field. That one headed toward the corner. And that one is going to get another run in. As coming around is Joey Votto. The Reds with a 6-0 lead as Scott Rowland.
And that is going to probably be the last batter for Josh Johnson. 3-2, 2 outs. Votto running on the pitch. He scores easily, and another double for the big boy.
And another RBI as well for Scott Rowland.
A hanging breaking ball, and the reason that ball's hanging is it goes back to the first 3 innings of the ball game that we showed you. All of those pitches, 62 pitches for the right-hander Josh Johnson in the first 3 innings, and the Reds have just flat worn him out physically.
6-0 Reds with a lead over the Marlins. Skyline called to the bullpen for Taylor Tankersley. We'll be right back. Nothing lead as the bottom of the 4th will continue for the reliever out of the Marlins bullpen, Taylor Tankersley.
I watched this kid pitch in high school. He's from Vicksburg, Mississippi, coming off of a stress fracture in his elbow, surgery last year, missed the whole season, and just now getting back to the point where he's able to compete on a regular level. You see a high earned run average there, but he is a left-handed specialist for these Marlins. He was before he got hurt, and now he's back.
And he will be facing, in his 26th appearance of the year, Jim Edmonds. With 2 out, and the Reds have already pushed 2 across. Here in the bottom of the 4th, the lead at 6-0. Scott Rowland with an RBI double, his 3rd base hit, his 2nd double, and his 2nd RBI, standing out in the middle of the diamond.
You can watch Tankersley as he delivers the ball to home plate. He really hooks the ball behind his back before he comes forward. That's one of the reasons that he had the stress fracture in his elbow. He's not able to change that, but the surgery did repair the elbow damage. But you don't know how much is going to continue with the way that he throws the ball.
Obviously, that's got to change something in what you're doing when you go through that kind of injury.
That's a big hook behind the back, and he's thrown that ball. He's thrown the ball that way ever since he was little, but it's also helped him with his breaking ball. But what it does is it really puts a lot of pressure on the forearm and on the elbow.
1st-round draft pick of the Marlins in 2004. 1-1 the count, and Jim Edmonds bounces this right at Gabby Sanchez. He'll go to the bag unassisted. But the Reds are able to put 2 more on the board, and they lead it 6-0. Blast. You go back to the first series with the Marlins down in Miami. Scott Rowland went deep once against the Fish, and he went deep a 2nd time and delivered both those knocks off Ricky Nolasco, who was Florida's winning pitcher last night in Washington. But Scott Rowland with a couple of long ones. Our Coors Light cold hard blast.
That's a veteran at the plate right there. You drive a ball the other way, you know if you're going to hit his fastball, he's going to come back with a different pitch. And sure enough, Rowland was sitting on it the 2nd go-round.
Yes, he was. Top of the 5th starts with Hanley Ramirez pitching, and he bounces that one by Volquez and into center field for a base hit. So Hanley Ramirez reaches. By the way, that infield base hit for Edmonds and Volquez snapped an 0 for 40 streak for Reds pitchers at the plate. And that is notable because, for those who follow the Reds all year, the pitchers, led by Mike Leake, have been hitting awfully well.
And I looked at that stat before the game, and it just blew me away because you don't think about it. But yet, you run into a few ball games where you don't swing the bat very well as a starting pitcher, and boom, there you go. You're out in a hurry.
Mike Leake had the last base hit back on July 20th against Washington. Logan Morrison at the plate, where tonight is 0 for 1 with a walk.
Let's see if get ahead of him this go round. Volquez has been behind in the count every time to Morrison.
So 2-0 the count.
It seems as though Morrison comes to the plate and takes till he gets a strike, and had a 3-2 pitch last time, had a changeup on the inside part of the plate, pulled the trigger and got a base hit into right field.
Edinson Volquez hunting for his third win of 2010. And he's been staked to a 6-0 lead. This could be two. Giannis. Cueto. 2 outs. Like that one, huh?
Well, when the leadoff hitter gets a base hit off of you, and you're looking at a guy that works the count pretty well, and he hits it right to the shortstop, right on top of the bag. I mean, this is tic-tac-toe for Giannis. Easy killing.
Well, the Reds defense has been very solid by and large in 2010. There were some miscues during the St. Louis series, but this is a ball club that still stands second in the National League with a .989 fielding percentage, and their errors, 47, are the second fewest. They trailed San Francisco in both of those categories. Gabby Sanchez hitless so far tonight. .6-0 Reds with a lead. And that one slapped to right center, and that's going to be a base hit that'll split the outfielders. Gabby Sanchez at second base. So his first knock of the night.
Now that is what has separated Sanchez from the guy with the 28 doubles to the guy early in the season that was having a difficult time swinging the bat. He is able to drive the ball the other way. And I would imagine for a young player, you first get called up to the big leagues there in Florida, that short wall in left field tends to make you pull that left shoulder out a little bit and look for the long ball. Well, that can roll you over into a lot of double plays and really take you away from hitting the breaking ball well at all.
Here you see what he has done with his numbers of doubles on the year. Gabby Sanchez. And a strike delivered to Dan Uggla. Last year, Dan Uggla became the first Florida player in club history with 30 or more home runs in 3 consecutive seasons. And with 26 already here, you like his chances of making it 4 consecutive years. Nice job by Ramon Hernandez to score down and get that ball.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think he and I believe the gentleman's name is Joe Gordon are the only 2 second basemen in the history of Major League Baseball to begin their seasons or to begin their careers with 4 consecutive years of 20-plus home runs. And if you think about it, I mean, it's a pretty good accomplishment. You know, I mean, to hit 20 home runs as a rookie is pretty solid. But to keep on hitting them, it's even better.
And second base isn't generally
power position.
Right. I mean, you have your exceptions. You know, Joe Morgan certainly was that way. Jeff Kent. Dan Uggla also stands. You mentioned he's become the franchise leader in home runs in Marlin history. Brandon Phillips certainly has shown his power burst through his career. Count is 1-2 to Uggla with 2 out. And Hernandez will complete the strikeout. So the Reds keep the Marlins off the board again. 6-0 Cincinnati. this exact date that Bronson Arroyo pitched a 2-hit shutout against Washington here at GABP, and the Reds won 7-0. Bronson gave up a couple of singles, one to Adam Dunn and one to Ryan Zimmerman. Our Cabot Woodstein legendary performance, and all of that work led to this game ending 1 year ago on this date in 2 hours and 7 minutes.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes. That's enough time for you to run and go get some ice cream, wasn't it?
Get that right. I can mix in some ribs with it, too.
Yeah, no, you can. 6-0. Reds with a lead over the Marlins here in the bottom of the 5th inning at Great American Ballpark. Taylor Tankersley back out on the mound in relief of Josh Johnson, and Jay Bruce at the plate for the Reds. Jay Bruce, a couple of RBIs tonight, one on a single and one on a fielder's choice. We also want to take an opportunity to extend our thoughts and best wishes and prayers to the family of former Cincinnati Bengals running back Ickey Woods. Ickey's son, Ickey Jr., has been hospitalized after a asthma attack has left him in very poor condition, we understand. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Ickey Woods and his family. He had this city excited when he was playing here.
Ickey shuffle.
Yes, he did. Took it all the way to the Super Bowl at the Marlins Stadium. 1-1 the count. How was that Super Bowl, Cowboy?
Were you at?
Yeah.
What was it then? Dolphin Stadium?
Can't remember.
Had to be.
Can't remember. Stanford Jennings with a kickoff return for the touchdown, and we thought the Super Bowl championship was coming back here.
Because it was Joe Robbie after, or maybe before.
You know what? He was Joe Robbie Stadium.
Joe Robbie at the time.
It was Joe Robbie. 2-1 the count to Jay Bruce. Going for that darn Joe Montana and John Taylor. So Jay Bruce looking to get the bottom of the 5th started in good fashion for the Reds. County is 2-2. Ramon Hernandez is on deck.
Tankersley uses that breaking ball against lefties, the big sweeper that starts behind the back, and the split finger as a changeup to righties.
Break-even pitch runs the count full now. From Vicksburg, Mississippi. How far is that away from where you're at, Jackson?
30 minutes.
Okay.
Not too far. But when you've got a guy like that that's got a big league arm,
everybody comes running.
Yeah, everybody's going to see him.
And Jay Bruce sends this one toward foul territory, and it gets out of play. Well, as Tankersley handles the duties on the mound, a glimpse at Josh Johnson's night.
Remember that last time? 10 strikeouts?
10 strikeouts, yes.
Not tonight. 0 strikeouts. That goes major credit to the Reds batters tonight and the way they worked. Josh Johnson from the beginning of the ball game with Brandon Phillips all the way to the last batter that he faced, and Scott Rowland.
And you saw how the league's best ERA took a hit there at the bottom of that column. Once again, a 3-2 pitch, and Jay Bruce puts this one into center field. Cody Ross back to the wall. See you later. Home run, Jay Bruce. His 11th of the year and his first since June 30th. So throw one more up there for the Reds.
Well, I think everybody was hoping with the addition of Jim Edmonds that it would help Jay Bruce from the offensive side. When you've got a veteran power hitter that's been around a long time and he hits from the left side, look at this extension from Jay as he gets the bat through the strike zone from a left-handed pitcher. We haven't seen that kind of swing from Jay in quite some time, and that is a big help for the Reds if he gets hot.
Yes, it is.
Oh, my goodness.
7-0 Redlegs. And Ramon Hernandez, who homered on Monday against St. Louis, will send this one into the seats foul. When you look at what the Reds have done as a group as catchers in the National League, well, in all of baseball for that matter, second in batting average at 293 behind Minnesota, second in RBIs at 68 behind Atlanta. Now you're talking in those two teams, Joe Mauer and Brian McCann.
Two of the best.
Swing and a miss by Hernandez. And you know, Jeff, it's really been good to see, even though Ramon did have to spend that time on the disabled list earlier this year, and there's what we were talking about with those rankings. Remember the effect that his loss to injury last year had on this team.
And it's tough anytime that you lose one of your starting catchers, but especially with the work that they do with the different pitchers. You know, you've got a situation now where Hannigan catches a couple of different guys, especially Arroyo, and Hernandez catches both Cueto and Volquez all the time, and those guys really rely upon each other. I mean, they rely on the catcher. There's not a whole lot of communication or not a whole lot of timeouts and going back and forth when those guys are working with their individual catchers.
1-2, Taylor Tankersley against Ramon Hernandez. Now 2-2. And also, in looking back at 2009, Hernandez contributions when Joey Votto was out. He logged a lot of time over there at first base. And even late in one game at a pinch had to go play third base.
I thought he did a great job at third.
Agreed. 2-2 pitch, and he grounds that one right at third baseman Wes Helms. First out of the inning on the ground ball.
What I did not know is that he played first base during winter ball too, so that helps him a little bit.
Okay. So 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Tomorrow on Fox Saturday Baseball, Aramis Ramirez and the Cubs head to St. Louis to take on Albert Pujols and the Cardinals in a showdown between National League Central rivals. As Chicago looks to play spoilers to the playoff hopes of St. Louis. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Sprint, returns this week at 4 p.m. Paul Janisch at the plate, 0 for 1 with a walk. Janisch will put this one in the air. Possibly a play for Sanchez. And Gabby Sanchez bailers it in. As he had his catcher, Paulino, coming right at him.
Well, he had the alligator arm. That was like he was a little leery of both the catcher and the railing on the first base side.
Speaking of the Cubs and the Cardinals, they're in the top of the 3rd in St. Louis. Chicago with a 2-1 lead is Albert Pujols, who went homerless here in Cincinnati. He did his damage in other ways, but he hit one out for the Redbirds. So Edinson Volquez, who's 1 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt, will stand in. Mentioned earlier that infield base hit that he had in the 4th inning snapped an 0 for 40 streak for Reds pitchers at the plate. With that home run for Jay Bruce to begin the inning, his first 3 RBI game since May 29th against Houston. Volquez jackknifes away from that, and if not mistaken, that might have been that game against Houston on Memorial Day weekend where the Reds had 6 home runs. Might have been.
You know, there's nothing like a little bit of internal competition to push guys in the right direction. You get a veteran out there in Jim Edmonds. You've got Chris Heisey playing well, Drew Stubbs.
Volquez flails it down.
Nix, the way that he's hit the ball lately, and how well Johnny Gomes played early in the season. There's a lot of outfielders, and there's only 3 spots. And whether that pushes you in the right direction or whether it's the advice or the leadership that you get from Jim Edmonds, either way, you want it to work right.
Volquez trying, but he pushes that one right to Ramirez. The inning ends, but Jay Bruce with home run number 11 to give the Reds a 7-0 lead over the Marlins after 5 complete.
Cincinnati. So we move on to the 6th here on Fox Sports Ohio. Jim Day back with you, still by the Reds dugout here. And it's time for you to sound off about the Johnny Cueto 7-game suspension. News of the day, he will not appeal that suspension, so he's beginning it tonight. Your chance to sound off. His 7-game suspension. Too much? Too little? Right amount? Or should have been none? Text 1, 2, 3, or 4 to 37664. 37664. Standard text message rates apply. While the results coming up. Text polls are supposed to be about hot buttons, guys. I'd say you got yourself a hot button right here.
Without question. And I think a lot of us knew that Johnny Cueto very possibly was going to be the guy that might get the stiffest out of what came out of it.
Well, I think any time that especially this day and age, when everything is on TV, everything can be reviewed by tape, and you draw blood, put somebody on the disabled list, probably going to get suspended, especially if it's with your foot.
And spikes. 7-0. Reds with a lead over the Marlins as we move to the top of the 6th. You also knew, as we get a gander at some of the results, whatever was going to happen to Brandon Phillips was going to happen to Yadier Molina. They were going to be at equal ground, more than likely. There was probably the thought, listening to some folks talk, maybe that Chris Carpenter might get a little more than what he got because of his active vocal participation.
Well, I think the vocal part of it is going to get you a fine because the umpires can hear that. The physical altercation, that's what's going to get you suspensions, and from a player's standpoint. And anytime that you have managers that are out there, instead of pushing players back or pulling players back, they're jawing with each other, they're both going to get suspended. And I don't know that there's ever been a time that Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa have been on the field that they weren't jawing at each other.
I understand. Well, there's the text poll, and most of the folks out there think Cueto should have gotten nothing. Cody Ross has worked a 2-2 count to Edinson Volquez.
So that's what I would expect from Reds fans.
Absolutely. Objective as long as it benefits your team.
That's exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why they gave Brandon Phillips a standing ovation when he came to the plate after he said what he said about the Cardinals.
And why Yadier Molina got all the raspberries every time he came to the plate. The swing and the miss. Cody Ross, he's gone. So the first out of the inning, the 5th strikeout of the night for Edinson Volquez. Aerial coverage provided by DirecTV. Get every MLB game of the most in HD by calling 1-800-DIRECTV.
Well, those shots they had there at Sunset were just phenomenal.
And that one's pretty sharp, too. Mike Stanton, his 3rd trip to the plate tonight. 1 for 2. Fly ball to center field, and then a single in the 4th.
Well, he handled that ball down and in very well early in the ball game. That was the ball that he jerked down the line for the double. And it looks like Volquez is trying to start him off with the soft stuff. Get him out in front.
I mentioned that he tied a franchise record with 5 hits Wednesday night in Washington. A lot of fanfare when he was called up.
5 hits in a game. That doesn't happen very often, even to some of the guys in the Hall of Fame.
Stanton with good one on that one. And it is out of here. Marlins on the board as Mike Stanton has delivered his 13th home run of the year.
That is an awfully strong young man. The bat speed there almost reminds you of Jason Hayward from Atlanta from the other side. A fastball middle in, and instead of hitting it down the left field line this time, it gets deposited in the left center field bleachers.
And there you could hear the sound of the bat hitting the ball. So 7-1 Reds with a lead. That is the 5th home run that Edinson Volquez has yielded. You would guess we will be hearing more about this young man as time comes on.
I would imagine. He's torn it up everywhere he's been.
Wes Helms, the one out batter.
And for the home run there, there's nothing to worry about from Volquez's standpoint if you're watching this ball game. This is what Volquez is supposed to be doing right now. Throw the ball over the plate. If they hit it out, they hit it out.
This one hit up the middle and a base hit for Wes Helms, his second hit of the night.
Normally when you see Volquez, this is almost a half and half with the 46 and the 38. Normally you're going to see more towards the 60 pitches on the strike side, 24 on the ball side. But you've got to remember, this is actually the best game that Volquez has had as far as throwing strikes since he's been back, and confidence and appearance on the mound.
Ronnie Paulino, the catcher, the one-out hitter with Helms on at first base.
And to have Volquez at this point and only a 6-start back, I mean, that's a pretty good feeling if you're asking me.
You saw Brian Price, the pitching coach, monitoring what's going on with Edinson Volquez. Paulino tonight bounced into a fielder's choice and has been issued one of the 2 walks that Volquez has allowed.
This is a good situation for Volquez right now, because every time he's gotten to this point, the Reds have had to take him out of the ballgame. You want to continue to push him towards that 100-pitch mark.
2-0 pitch. Now 3-0. Logan Ondrusek is getting busy in the Reds bullpen. Florida has Brian Sanchez working in their pen. Chad Tracy is in the on-deck circle for the Marlins as the pitcher's body is due to bat next. 7-1 Reds with a lead. The Marlins just got their only tally of the night on Mike Stanton's 13th home run of the year. Golfed at that one and came up empty.
Surprised he swung at that pitch there. 3-0. That ball was about a foot off the ground. He took a hack at it. That may be the last swing he gets.
Charging is rolling. Only one play. And he gets it at first for the second out of the inning. So Paulino is gone. And Chad Tracy will be the pinch hitter for Florida. Hey, Reds fans, for great food with family and friends this summer, think JTM. Food, family, fun. JTM. So Taylor Tankersley is done, with Tracy coming up to bat, and Brian Price is going to trot out with Ramon Hernandez to talk to Volquez. There's a look at what Tracy has done in a pinch hitting role this year. He began the season with the Chicago Cubs. Played 28 games with the Cubs and hit .250. Was released on July 1st and then signed August 5th as a free agent by the Marlins. The pitch count by the scoreboard indicator here in the stadium is at 90 for Edinson Volquez.
And I think that's what the Reds are really trying to do here, is to, as I was saying earlier, they're trying to push Volquez towards that 100-pitch mark and get it to a point where he's comfortable at the 100-pitch mark, instead of it being where he's going downhill at the 100-pitch mark. Right now, his location is not what it was earlier in the ball game, but you would still like to get him through this inning, not only for his arm strength, but just for his confidence.
I understand the pitch count is 89. That is the count that we have in our truck, which we will go with or be whipped. Chad Tracy, the pinch hitter.
Speaking of whip, he had some good whip on that changeup there as a first pitch strike to Tracy.
A switch hitter who last night was 0 for 1 in a pinch hitting role. His only official at bat in the series in Washington for the Marlins. Bounces away, but holding is Wes Helms out of second.
And the umpire, Guccione, points at Tracy there and gives him the strike sign, so he's down in the count now. No balls and 2 strikes.
The home plate umpire, Chris Guccione, as you said, standing tall over everything here tonight.
Looking fastball in for Tracy, and that ball just bottom fell out of it. Tracy's looking to try to hit a 2-run ball in the river.
Here's how the pinch hitting statistics play out for Florida. 0-2 pitch. Of course, the guy that's been their best pinch hitter is now their starting third baseman, Wes Helms.
Exactly.
With Jorge Cantu being traded away. It had Russ Claude for a while.
The Reds have done awfully well in that category.
Thanks to Chris Heisey mostly.
Between Heisey and Nix. And Cairo for that matter.
Yes.
They have covered some ground.
And Cairo has really delivered when he's been in the starting lineup. 1-2. Bounces. On Sunday, Miguel Cairo got his first start of the year at second base when Brandon Phillips was out, and he looked like he'd been playing there all year.
I think that's a big key for a club that is a club looking to be in the hunt when you get into August and September. You have to have guys off the bench that when you put them in the ball game, you're not losing anything from your regulars. And that helps a tremendous amount, because when Roland went down, Cairo played. When Votto was out, Cairo played, and he did an awfully good job.
Swing and a miss by Chad Tracy. For the Marlins, get a run on the home run by Mike Stanton. After 5.5, the Reds with a 7-1 lead. Roland's base runnings going on his fielder's choice by Jay Bruce. He gets around Ronnie Paulino. Taps the dish.
You can see Paulino trying to tag him with two hands. Much slower than letting the ball come all the way to the plate.
Our Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed at Coors Light.
Brian Sanchez is on the mound, the right-hander. Wearing number 44. Last appearance was against Washington in their last series. He gave up a hit in just one inning of work. He was on the disabled list for a little while early in the season. Recalled with a hamstring injury. And now he's back out there. 0-1 with a 2.25 in his rehab games. And now he's coming out of the bullpen. 25 2/3 innings to start the season. Awfully good early.
From Beaumont, Texas, Brian Sanchez in. Brandon Phillips will lead off the bottom of the sixth for the Reds, who have a 7-1 lead. And Phillips has been a big part of that. On base twice with a single and a fielder's choice, and he scored a pair of runs. Eleven base hits on the night for the Reds, 8 for the Marlins. Sanchez last year in 2009, he started off like a house of fire with 25 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings at home, which is the longest such streak in the franchise history.
Not to be confused with Anibal Sanchez, who is the starting pitcher.
Whom we will see on Sunday.
That's right. A little difference in velocity, I would say.
Yes.
Pitch velocity. Brian Sanchez, more of the trickery and curveball, split finger, and changeup. Anibal Sanchez, he can just rears back and let you have it.
Yes, he does. There's not much doubt. Phillips looks at strike 3. They got the inside portion of the plate for the first out. And that is the first strikeout logged by any of the Marlins pitchers tonight. If my count is correct.
You are correct. That's nothing but pitching backwards for Brian Sanchez. He's done it ever since he's had a baseball in his hands. Curveball, split finger, and then the fastball late. But you can only do that when you know you have control of your secondary pitches that you can throw for strikes early in the count.
Been a productive night for Lance Nix so far. As you saw, a couple of base hits and a walk. Scored a run. 7-1 Reds with a lead. Reds will host Florida tomorrow evening. We hope you'll come on out and join everybody here at the ballpark Sunday afternoon as well. And that'll be your last chance to catch them for a while.
That's right.
Long and crucial road trip after that.
West Coast.
3 at Arizona, 3 at Los Angeles, and 3 in San Francisco.
And I think the Reds are very aware of how crucial that trip is. I think they know that Reds teams in the past have not played very well out there. And I think that with that being said, when you know what you have to do and the plan is in front of you, you just go out and get it done. Very similar to what they've done tonight. You just take each game as it comes.
Lance Nix on down to first base with a walk, and visit the official online shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. Browse the largest selection of official gear, including the latest apparel, memorabilia, and authentic classics for the whole family. Get your gear straight from the source. Shop the Reds.com official store. That is walk number 3 issued by the Florida pitching staff tonight. So a runner on for Joey Votto. A couple of base hits and a couple of RBIs and a couple of runs for Joey Votto. Keeps that batting average amongst some of the best in the league. Joey Votto does. This one pushed the other way. Hanley Ramirez is going to try for the out at first, and he's got it while Nix moves on to second base. So 2 are down. A reminder to sports fans this Sunday, directly following the Reds live postgame show. Stay tuned to FS Ohio and catch all of the action from the Pro Football Hall of Fame Enshrinement Festival Timken Grand Parade that occurred last weekend in Canton, Ohio. It's a one-of-a-kind celebration. Scott Rowland in the midst of a very productive night as well, as you can see.
Got a chance for another RBI and another hit. 3 hits on the night, a couple of doubles, a couple of RBIs.
And he looks to the strike. Joey Votto started the night at .319. His batting average 3rd best in the National League behind Carlos Gonzalez and Placido Polanco.
Well, when you go 3 for 3 with 2 doubles and 2 RBIs and a run scored against Josh Johnson, that's pretty good.
Yes, it is.
You know, I mean, let's face it. He may not have had a hit in the Cardinals series, but these guys have come out to play tonight against what may be a better pitcher than any of the 3 they faced in the St. Louis series. That just goes to show you that the Reds put too much pressure on themselves in that series.
1-1 to Scott Rowland with 2 out, and Rowland another hard hit ball, and that is going to be a foul.
I think when you look at this Reds club collectively, especially from the offensive side, when they just come to the ballpark and put together at bat after at bat, pitch after pitch with maximum concentration, they can beat anybody on any day. I think when you're talking about the Cardinals, there's too much hype involved, they get too much adrenaline going, and you almost try too hard, and instead of just going out and playing your game.
1-2 the count to Scott Rowland. Casey McGee with a ground out for Milwaukee, so his hitting streak of I believe it was 9 straight hits has come to an end for the Milwaukee Brewers third baseman. Meanwhile, updating the Cubs and the Cardinals, they're in the top of the 4th at St. Louis, and the Cardinals have taken a 3-2 lead. One and two to Scott Rowland.
Sanchez was headed to the dugout.
Now 2-2.
Well, he can move that his fastball is straight and it's not overpowering, but he can put it right where he wants it. Split finger grip there. That's what gets rolling.
It sure does. But the Reds have a 7-1 lead after 6 full here at Great American. AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T. Rethink possible. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit BuyCincinnatiHondaDealer.com for current offers. By Wendy's. You know when it's real. And by Hollywood Casino. Nobody has to yell action here. It's Hollywood Casino Lawrenceburg. 7-1 the score. Reds ahead of the Marlins as we move to the top of the 7th inning, and the Reds have gone to the bullpen for a new pitcher to follow Edinson Volquez.
Logan Ondrusek, who had a scoreless streak, stopped in his last appearance, but he has thrown the ball awfully well as of late. 3-0 on the year. This will be his 38th appearance. Given up 36 and a third innings pitched, only given up 29 hits, and struck out 25 opponents, only hitting .218. That's awfully good.
It is awfully good, and he'll start the night dealing with Hanley Ramirez, the Marlins all-star shortstop, who slaps one to center. Edmonds in position, first out.
Well, Ramirez likes to swing at that first pitch.
He sure does.
Just found out that Johnny Gomes is going to be awarded the Heart and Hustle Award for the Reds from the Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association. He'll get it tomorrow. Tommy Helms, I think, is going to present that to him prior to the ball game, and then there will be, each team has a participant or award winner, and then there'll be one grand winner at the end of the season.
Well, that's good news.
Howard Pujols won that award last year.
Logan Morrison, the one-out batter. And Johnny Gomes does hustle.
No doubt about it.
He does everything hard. You mentioned Tommy Helms, the former Reds interim manager and longtime coach, longtime second baseman. That's his nephew playing third base here for the Marlins, Wes Helms. Tommy Helms is an answer to a trivia question. First home run hit by a Reds player at Riverfront Stadium.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. Morrison to center. Another try for Jim Edmonds. And that's the second out of the inning.
Cutter's working.
Yes, it is. Bring the family to the ballpark and save on Sunday, August 15th as the Reds take on the Marlins again. It's our next Meyer Family Day when one family member purchases a full-price ticket. The entire family gets non-premium tickets at half price. For details, call 513-381-REDS or go to reds.com/family. Gabby Sanchez, the first baseman, swinging at the first pitch. Edmonds giving chase, and it'll get by him. Gabby Sanchez is going to motor on to second base, and he's going to try for 3. Here comes the relay. Giannis to Roland. Safe. Sanchez with a triple.
Well, Jim Edmonds just can't quite cover the ground that he has in the past. Normally, he's got that baby in his back pocket. As you can see, this is a hanging breaking ball from Andrusik, and it's hit right on the screws by Sanchez. Or by Sanchez.
His second extra base hit of the night.
That's the one thing you get used to with Stubbs out there in center field. He catches so many balls that nobody else can get to.
So Dan Uggla to be the 2-out batter. Douglas banks that one foul. Back behind here. R.A. Dickey pitched a one-hit complete game shutout as the Mets beat the Phillies 1-0 tonight at Citi Field. Cole Hamels had the only base hit for the Phils, a single in the top of the 6th.
I played with R.A. in Texas. He was a first-round pick from the Rangers back in, I think it would be 99, 98, right in there.
Okay.
Out of the University of Texas. He had a huge contract, huge bonus. They did the physical. They found out he did not have an ulnar collateral ligament. He was born without one.
Really?
They cut his bonus down to $50,000, and he had like almost $2 million bonus. Cut it down to like $50,000 and said, well, we'll still sign you and you can still play, but you're not getting the same kind of contract. And at that point, what's he going to do? He's out of the University of Tennessee. He went on and has done very, very well for himself.
I'd say, especially tonight. 2-2 pitch to Dan Uggla, and this one popped up where Paul Giannis is in position to grab it to end the inning. After 6.5, the Reds with a 7-1 lead over the Marlins. 7-1 lead over the Florida Marlins in the opener of this 3-game series. Time to check out the Mass Mutual in-game box score. So 4 players with multiple base hits for the Reds.
And those are all solid at bats. You look on that left side, especially the top 4 batters in that lineup above Edmonds. Great at bats. Early in the ball game, really drove Johnson out of the game with their at bats, not just by the hits, but by making him pitch a lot of pitches.
Jim Edmonds lines it right at Gabby Sanchez for the first out. Again, that was our Mass Mutual in-game scoreboard, and Jim Edmonds still looking for his first hit in a Reds uniform. Jay Bruce, who's driven in 3, a single, a homer, and an RBI and a fielder's choice for the Reds right fielder. And, you know, maybe Sunday, that game in Chicago, Jeff, when he started off with that RBI single early in that game, seemed to really get Jay Bruce kind of back in a good way.
Well, I think the biggest thing for Jay is to continue to drive the ball up the middle and the other way. That's his key to solid production all the time. When he pulls off the baseball or tries to pull the ball, that's when he gets in trouble.
Brian Sanchez back on the mound for the Marlins.
And you saw that power when he hit that ball to dead center field.
Yes.
I mean, you can't hit a ball any better than that. And he can drive the ball out to any part of the ballpark. But when he's hitting the ball to left center field and right up the middle, that's when he's at his best.
1-1 pitch, now 1-2. Sanchez followed Taylor Tankersley, who followed the starter Josh Johnson. And Sanchez pitched collegiately at Lamar University. Dan Uggla. 2 gone. Probably heard of Lamar pulling some upsets in the NCAA tournament over the years. Our Cardinals, I believe they are.
I can remember them being in the regionals even back in the time when I was in school.
Ramon Hernandez looking for his first base hit of the night. Ramon is trying to keep his good thing going.
He had a 3-game hitting streak coming in.
Yes.
And he's hit the ball hard a couple of times, but it was right to Wes Helms at third base.
And within that 3-game hitting streak, 7 games, a homer and 3 RBIs. Set a strike from Brian Sanchez. Talk so much about the veteran experience of Roland and Cabrera, but certainly Ramon Hernandez brings that and brought it last year, having played with Baltimore and San Diego.
Came up with the Oakland A's and had Hudson, Mulder, and Zito that he was catching, and I'm sure gained a lot of knowledge by catching some arms of that magnitude.
Count now 2-1. And there were some, I don't know if you want to call them naysayers, Jeff, but people that thought this wouldn't necessarily be a great guy in the clubhouse. Well, he certainly has been that.
He's been phenomenal. I think they just put a bad rap on him when he was in Baltimore because of his knees.
Strike. And maybe because of the futility of the Orioles.
Right. And they weren't playing well. And I think here what has happened is he's gotten the opportunity to play a lot, but yet not burdened with the everyday play that just tears your knees up. Having a sidekick like Ryan Hannigan that not only is a good catcher, but is hitting well also.
Speaking of Baltimore, we mentioned it the other day. There have been a few little previews of the 2011 season, and it was let out that the Reds will go to Baltimore next year. It is the one place they have not traveled to since interleague play has come about. The Orioles came here a few years, and it'll be the first time Cincinnati has played in Baltimore since the 1970 World Series.
Wow.
2-2 the count. Now 3-2, and The only game the Reds won in that series was in Baltimore. I dropped the first two at Riverfront.
Guess we'll see my fellow alumnus Buck Showalter.
Buck Showalter will be out there. The Reds lost game 3 in Baltimore, won game 4 thanks to homers from Lee May and Pete Rose. Hernandez grounds it at Ramirez. And Gabby Sanchez with a nice scoop to end the inning. After 7, it is 7-1. Reds with a lead over the Marlins. Done like Edinson Volquez, Cowboy.
Had it working all 3 pitches tonight. You saw the curveball there to strike out Ugla. Used his defense very well, spotting his fastball from the beginning of the ball game, getting great extension not only on the fastball but also on the changeup. As you see, Giannis turning easy double play there. Look at this changeup here. The bottom drops out of it. That was the Edinson Volquez that we saw when he first came to the Reds. And by George, I believe he's back.
He is back. 7-1. The Reds are on top of the game as we move to the top of the 8th inning. The Florida Marlins will have Cody Ross, Mike Stanton, and Wes Helms. There's Edinson Volquez. Making a pretty good comeback from that Tommy John surgery. And we want to also say thanks to our good friends at Penn Station who delivered dinner to the TV booth tonight.
Amen.
And Cody Ross to left field. Got it last night's first out.
Hit that baby right off the end of the bat. A cut fastball. Looked like he was right on it bat speed wise, but the ball cut at the last minute and just drifted out to left.
An 0 for 4 night for Cody Ross.
Watch this ball coming in there. Looks almost like a curveball, but that pitch was about 88 miles an hour. When you put it in slow motion, it looks a little different.
Which we have the benefit of.
Yeah, Cody does not.
No, he does not. Mike Stanton was accounted for the only Florida run, and he may account for another one. Yes, he does.
My goodness.
Opposite field, long knock for Mike Stanton, home run number 14. And this kid can hit.
Well, that's a big time swing right there, folks. He had a fastball out of here off of Volquez. This is a breaking ball from Ondrusek, even though the ball is in the middle of the plate. You're talking about some major extension and hand and eye coordination there for Stanton.
His first multi-homer game of the season.
And we heard all the talk when he got to the big leagues. He's done that everywhere he's been.
Yes, he has. Swing and a miss by Wes Helms. Couple of singles, and on when hit by a pitch, Wes Helms. Logan Andrusek still out there working on the mound for the Reds. Mentioned Wes's uncle, Tommy Helms, the former Reds second baseman, and mentioned that Tommy hit the first Reds home run in Riverfront Stadium when it opened in the middle of the 1970 season. The first home run hit in the ballpark was by Atlanta, and I think it was Hank Aaron. It was. Thank you, John Browdy. Riverfront Stadium opened in the middle of the season, and then the Reds hosted the All-Star game, and then played the first 2 games of the '70 World Series. Helms with a foul that Joey Votto will watch get into the stands. He reached and tried. Of course, you got some good memories of Riverfront Stadium.
Yes, I do. Some great ones.
Well, I saw you walking in the hall the other day. That picture of you out there closing the game.
I know. See Votto there as he reaches over. Speaking of memories, I can remember playing with Will Clark. He used to climb on top of that tarp and make catches.
Helms will bounce this right at Brandon Phillips. 2 gone. Will the Thrill.
Will the Thrill. There you go.
He was another Mississippi State guy, wasn't he?
He is. But to climb that tarp and hold your balance while you're catching a ball like that, that's no easy task.
No.
He made it look like a piece of cake. Instead of reaching over it, just climbed up on top of it, get above the fans.
2-out batter is Ronnie Paulino, the catcher for the Marlins. More of the history lesson about that first game at Riverfront. The Reds lost on June 30th to Atlanta 8-2. Felix Millan, the first base hit in the game. The first Reds hit, of course, belonged to Pete Rose.
Well, that's only fitting.
Pat Jarvis got the win for Atlanta. Wayne Simpson on July 1st got the first Reds win. This ball bounced to Paul Janisch. And the Marlins are gone. 7-1. Reds with the lead as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Thousand fans at the game will take home a Reds Garden Gnome thanks to Chiquita. Get tickets now for the Marlins weekend series by calling 513-381-REDS or log on to reds.com. And please forgive me for giving the incorrect score at the end of that last half inning. It is 7-2. The Reds lead the Florida Marlins. Both runs coming on home runs by Mike Stanton.
You got it, pal. Will Oman, the left-hander, comes in. He was second in the American League right before he was traded in a deadline deal for Rick Vandenhert. Came over from Baltimore. Had 51 appearances. He's had 4 with the Marlins. And the left-hander came up with the Cubs, and now he's back in the National League.
And he'll start off on the bottom of the ninth, facing Paul Janisch, and this is a special day for young Will Omen.
Right, 33 years of age.
Here's a look at his limited time in a Florida Marlins uniform.
His numbers with Baltimore were very similar to those.
Were they?
Awfully, awfully good.
2-0 the count to the Red shortstop.
51 ball games over there, 30 innings, 30 hits, 29 strikeouts.
Paul Janisch 0 for 2 with a walk. On deck is Chris Heisey to hit for Logan Andrusek. Four-pitch walk to Paul Janisch. His second free pass of the night. And that's the fourth walk given up by Marlins pitchers.
And I would imagine that Will Omen out there tonight, normally used as a left-handed specialist out of the bullpen late in the ball game. But you got to get your work in. You got to keep throwing even when you're not getting a whole lot of work.
Well, Chris Heisey, you look at his pinch hitting numbers there, and we talked about pinch hitters who have been playing at a very good level. Well, Chris certainly has ever since he was called up early in the season.
What's so amazing about that, Paul, is normally pinch hitting duties and off the bench duties are left for veterans that have been around for a while and that can handle the time where you don't play for a while. And Chris Heisey, for a rookie, he has been phenomenal.
He has.
I don't know any other way to describe it. I mean, he leads the major leagues with 4 home runs coming off the bench. And I mean, when he's been used, it's always been against a closer, a Billy Wagner or Frankie Rodriguez kind of hitter that he's had to hit against.
And in those 4 pinch hit home runs, if remember correctly, his first one was his first major league hit, and it was a grand slam in Pittsburgh. 0-2. Heisey will put this one into shallow center, where Cody Ross has it. First out of the inning. Those 4 pinch hit home runs have him one shy of the Reds' record of 5 set by Jerry Lynch in the pennant-winning season of 1961. Thurman had 4 of them in 57. Javier Valentin with 4 in 06. And Chris Heisey with 4 this season. All of them behind Jerry Lynch. Brandon Phillips at the plate with 1 out.
He scored a couple of runs tonight, and so is his teammate Joey Votto, so they remain tied atop the National League runs scored list.
And they've left Dan Uggla behind him. He was tied with those 2 at the start of the night.
Well, the only guy that scored any runs on the Florida side tonight has been Mike Stanton, and they've been of his own doing.
Yes, they have.
A homer to left and a homer to right.
7-2 the score. The Reds with a lead. 11 Cincinnati base hits, 10 Florida hits. Will Omen. And Phillips bangs it right off of him. Base hit for Brandon Phillips, his second of the night.
That ball looked like it caught him just above the knee, but he seems to be all right. But, of course, Randy St. Clair and training staff just want to make sure. Well, it looked like he got a little glove on it, and it hit him in the right leg. You really can't tell where it got him on the right side. He didn't look too happy. He was ready to throw his glove down.
I think that was more out of disgust of not getting the ball.
Well, what happens when the line drive comes back to you, and Phillips didn't look as though that was a blistered one. Looked like it was hit off the end of the bat. And as a pitcher, you're expecting the ball. When you see it, it looks like it's coming a million miles an hour. So you throw your glove down there and jump back, trying to create some space out of fear, anxiety, adrenaline, whatever you want to call it. And then when the ball tips off your glove and then hits you, then not only are you embarrassed, but you're also in pain. Hence the fake of throwing the glove.
Okay. Now a couple of warm-up tosses, and Will Omen is ready to get back to work. and he'll do so against Lance Nix, who's been on base 4 times tonight. Couple of singles, couple of walks. 2 on for the Redlegs.
That ball coming to the mound like that looks like that Fox Super slow-mo. Just
and take that from somebody who's been there.
right in the knee, right into the first base dugout over at Riverfront.
Who hit it?
Benito Santiago.
Oh.
It's the Phillies. But I had to get back up. I had 2 outs in the 9th, and a save was on the line.
Yeah.
I had to throw one more pitch and cry later.
Would expect no less.
Well, you can really tell how much more comfortable Will Oman is with a left-handed batter at the plate rather than a right-handed hitter. He's got Nix in a hole 0-2 in a hurry.
He sure did. And would face another lefty in Joey Votto, who's on deck. So Nix down on strikes. The 3rd strikeout for Florida pitchers on the evening. After every Reds game, Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the game and talks to the stars of the game and manager Dusty Baker on Reds Live, brought to you by Kings Honda and the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com.
So who will they talk to tonight? Chris Fire?
I would suspect. I don't know that Dusty is allowed to be back down there and do that, but can't swear to that. So it would be Chris Fire, is the information we've been given. Joey Votto, the 2-out batter. And the other thing we should mention too, Jeff, we were made aware from Jim Day. In this situation, we referenced Chris Fire as a interim or acting manager when Dusty was suspended a couple of years ago. Those wins still go on the record of the manager.
Dusty Baker.
Yes. It's noted that Chris Fire was the acting manager at the time.
But yet they still go on Dusty's win or loss record.
Yes. There's Chris Fire.
But Chris could kind of pretend that they were.
Absolutely.
99%. Something feels good.
How about the other night when all that happened after both Dusty and Tony La Russa get thrown out, when a pitching change gets made for St. Louis and Dave Duncan goes out to make the pitching change and Joe Patini's talking to the ump for the double switch. And as Chris mentioned, Chris Welsh, while we were doing the game, said that just goes to show you the heavy lifting the managers have to do.
Definitely a different kind of situation. Got a half an inning of baseball played and everything breaks loose.
Yeah. Couple of base hits, couple of RBIs for Joey Votto tonight.
Well, you can really see Votto looking to that left side of the infield.
And he hits it to the left side of the outfield. And that one carrying pretty good into the corner, but there's the grab by Logan Morrison to end the inning. After 8 full, 7-2, Reds ahead of the Marlins. of the game. And there's Paul Giannis with a double play.
It came at an awfully good time for the Redlegs. Get that first runner aboard, and sure enough, Giannis right in the right spot after a bullet up the middle. Jordan Smith's on the mound. The right-hander has posted a 1.28 earned run average since the All-Star break. 12 games, 14 innings pitched. He's thrown the ball awfully well since coming up from Double-A and bypassing Triple-A. Right-hander Smith 2-2 on the year with a 2.67 earned run average. This will be his 23rd ball game, 27 innings pitched, and only 6 walks for the right-hander.
And he has appeared really unfazed by much of anything. Just comes up and is very steady.
He throws strikes.
Chris Heisey. Oh, no, he did not. First read indication he'd come in and play center field. But he was a pinch hitter, and that's it. Emilio Bonifacio to lead off the top of the ninth for the Florida Marlins. He was called up from Triple-A New Orleans on June. Started the year with the Marlins, but was sent down. Hitting from the left side against Smith, and he looks at a strike.
Most switch hitters, you would think they would be much better from the left side, but in Bonifacio's case, he's better from the right side.
Punts that one into right field, Emilio Bonifacio.
Must have hurt me.
And he gets to second base in a hurry with a pinch hit double. And man that was acquired in a trade with the Washington Nationals, Emilio Bonifacio.
Breaking ball stays right in the heart of the plate. And instead of the good hard sinker down and away, that one stays in the middle of the plate, and he pulls it down into the corner. Boy, Jay Bruce got to that ball in a hurry.
And you see the double count for Emilio Bonifacio. Key player in that trade with Washington was Josh Willingham. Back to the top of the order, and Hanley Ramirez. A single in 4 previous at-bats. 11 base hits for the Fish tonight, 12 for the Reds.
Looks like Cordero is throwing down in the Reds bullpen just in case things get a little tight here.
Ramirez, a strong poke that will go foul.
Well, the breaking ball that Jordan Smith is throwing up there right now is what I would refer to as a cement mixer. It's just spinning. And when that happens, they hit them hard, as you've seen the last 2 he's thrown. They need to go back to that hard sinker and get those ground balls.
1-1 the count to Ramirez. Now 2-1. Jordan Smith, allowing those couple of runs on Wednesday, snapped his scoreless streak at 11 games and 13 innings. Well, between what Arthur Rhodes has done, Jordan Smith, and Logan Ondrusek, these Reds middle relievers have had some stretches where they've really been very solid.
Had the 18-plus innings for Ondrusek of scoreless baseball. Smith with the 12-something innings, and Rhodes had the 33 appearances, I believe.
33 appearances.
And then tied the major league record of scoreless appearances.
And it was 30 innings. 2-2 pitch. Count now full.
Now see, there's another breaking ball, and instead of breaking down and away, it goes inside. That's what you call a backup slider. And it starts in the middle of the plate and runs towards the hitter instead of breaking down and away.
Payout pitch for Jordan Smith. Looks like they may get Ramirez out of there on a long fly ball. Now Jay Bruce comes hurrying in to get it. They get the throw in, and a nice throw as Bonifacio had thought about trying to advance.
Jay came in a hurry with a great positioning behind the baseball, knowing the speed of Bonifacio. Watch how far behind he gets. Watch him run in here. See him get in and take the throw from right there. Watch this ball goes right over the head of the cutoff man, right to Roland at third base. Wonder how hard he could throw a fastball. A little like our oldest Chapman throw from out there. 97, 98.
Logan Morrison looks at a strike. A base hit in 3 official at-bats. A walk grounded into a double play and hit a fly ball to center. Tomorrow night it'll be another 7 o'clock, 7:05 start for the Reds and the Marlins here at Great American. Morrison will flare this one foul. Mike Leake, right-hander for the Reds, lefty Sean West for the Marlins. We hope you'll come on out and grab a seat and watch the Reds at the ballpark or join us on the television. And then Sunday, a 1:10 start, Anibal Sanchez will pitch for the Marlins, and we are guessing that Homer Bailey will start Sunday for the Reds.
I'd say that is a very good guess.
You like that? It was the spot where Johnny Cueto would have started. As we told you earlier tonight, Johnny Cueto tonight beginning his 7-game suspension. He will not appeal it, so basically it's one missed start, almost kind of like being skipped in a rotation to make it just one start, Jeff.
There you go. And I think that's why the Reds are doing it, because they've got Bailey ready to go. They don't have to do anything to change the rotation. They've got a chance to bring Travis Wood up when they head out on this next road trip on the West Coast. No reason to put yourself in a bind later on by appealing it now.
Check swing, and he's gone. Check swing, and Morrison is gone for the second out of the inning, the 7th strikeout of the night. For Reds pitchers, and aerial coverage tonight provided by DirecTV. Get every MLB game and the most in HD. We'll call 1-800-DirecTV. I understand the Bluff's going to be here for some more time during the weekend.
Cool. Thing put some great pictures out, I'll tell you that.
Tomorrow they'll be here.
Outstanding.
Gabby Sanchez, the batter for the Marlins, as the crowd, 29,571, come to their feet to urge on the final out of the game.
Well, this is the time. Doesn't matter who you are on the mound, whether it's a save situation or not. When you're at home and you've got your fans on their feet, well, your heart's pounding.
Sanchez sends up to center. Edmonds got it. Ball game. 7-2 Reds with a victory. They snap the 3-game losing streak and get that winning feeling again. And how about Edinson Volquez and his night out on the mound, Joe?
Well, he had said it after his last start, said that he felt like he had fixed some things and that he was back, and he showed it tonight and threw the ball very well, and I expect him to continue to get better and better as the starts pile up. What a great addition, knowing that you've got Volquez back in his 17-game winning form.
7-2 the final. The Reds defeat the Marlins here at Great American Ballpark. We'll have more in a moment.